So, welcome to Nerd Church. When we left off, found our party in the city of Nantong, which rests on the coast, but inland just a little bit, because Nantong sits on a river delta. The Qikong River, which continues inland. This was at the conclusion of a relatively safe and uneventful sea voyage, except for a little bit of tussle with some harpies.
And seeing something really big.
And mysterious in the water, yeah. On arrival in Nantong, you made your way first to an interesting shop, which seemed to be a little out of your price range for now. A shop owned by a merchant named Morana, Elam Tahiri Morana, who had fine master-crafted weapons, devices, and different magical items. But as I said, prices were a little steep for you at this point. He did, however, make kind of a tinkerer to tinkerer or craftsman to craftsman connection with Potom, and encouraged your party, should you journey out into the wastes, to keep an eye out for any interesting alchemical components, magical devices, or ancient technology that you might stumble upon. And he'd be happy to reward you for anything like that. Apart from that, you made your way to an inn, a place called Bucky's, and I think that was what it was called. And played some games. Some of you won a little money, some of you lost a little money, but right. Everybody had fun. And Pando, in a gregarious sort of mode, chatted up a couple locals and learned just a little bit about the local culture, including being exposed for the first time to the concept of Oshira, or the broader family, the familial concept of all Minotaurs living and dead being family, and learned a little bit about the concept of honor that Minotaurs operate under. You also learned about the local arena/temple, where the matriarchal cleric organization, which is also the governmental body here called the Synok, oversees tests of honor for Minotaurs who want to grow their ability to contribute to the Oshira.
Not just Minotaurs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You also learned that outsiders can participate in the matches, can be tested, and do have a path to joining the broad family. So, with that, where we officially left off, I think, was you all awakened in your room to the smell of fresh baked goods wafting in through the window. There are several bakeries on the street. And from downstairs, the smell of strong coffee brewing. You also awakened to see Pando's bed is empty. And she has departed in the wee hours, but she did leave a message with someone downstairs, which you will discover when you head down there, that she felt called in the night to go explore the local wilderness, and she's out exploring the ecosystem a bit in the marshes around the river delta that Nantong butts up against. So she promises to return late in the day and reconnect with you, but for now is not around. So the day is yours. You do have the tracking device, which is still pointing you generally to the south and west. There is a map on the wall in your inn down in the common room, and it's very basic and sort of stylized, but you can see it on the screen here. It basically shows the river as it proceeds further inland, and only two communities are really within range of this map. The city you're in now, which is Nantong, and the much smaller village further down which is called Tesh Shiar, which is, you are told, close to the source of the river.
Is this the river
Okay.
here?
So this is the sea out here, and then the river is
Oh, I gotcha.
progressing inland to its source. I thought I had a name for the river. This is it's the Chinkosh River. This is the Chinkosh Reservoir, which is the outflow of the Chinkosh River.
Gotcha.
So, with that, as you munch on some really tasty cinnamon pastries and drink very strong, slightly sweet coffee, you are faced with many options. So the day is yours. You can talk a little bit about how you want to tackle this day.
Well, we definitely talked about taking time to go to the arena.
That'd be my instinct.
And, because I've been talking in Pound's voice this whole time. And, I mean, we have been kept up for 3 months. We might as well take a little time for ourselves. The supply chain of evil will be there tomorrow. Unless they complete their mission and it's the end of the world.
In which case, do we care? No. We won't be around to worry about it.
We would have only been better taking some time for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to head over to the arena. Is it too early? When do things start over there? I wonder. I'll have to come and take a peek.
Well, we're at breakfast, which is... We'll just ask the innkeeper.
Sure. So the innkeeper is happy to tell you a little bit about the operations of the arena. You learn that today is a temple day. So only one day a week is a day for arena combat or honor trials. You learn a little bit about this. So at the arena, it is at once a temple and a place of ritual and somewhat entertainment combat. 6 days out of the week, it's temple. So this is a place most of the time when just the female minotaurs, the women of the Synod, would be there, either teaching the children of Nantong, which is most of those days, 4 days out of the week, or 2 other days where only the women of the temple are allowed inside. Those are days of prayer and reflection and operations of the government. The one exception to that is half of each 5th day, like a Saturday, or 6th day, like a Saturday, is what they call a temple day, which is a time for those seeking to walk the Masar Ashar. Let me get this pronunciation right. The Masar Asharafi, or the honor path, can come and speak to the Synod and basically volunteer or put themselves forward as candidates. As outsiders, or really anyone, but as outsiders, you have just 2 options should you wish to actually participate in these ritualized combats. You can basically play for gold. So in those cases, the arena is always looking for people to go up against, for capable warriors to go up against minotaurs who are looking to advance themselves through the honor path, or others who are looking to progress through the Masar Ashafari. And in those cases, you are paid for your participation. You fight, and you get paid whether you win or lose. However, he points out, anyone who engages in the path of making gold for this is forever excluded from the honor path. The other path that you can take is to attempt to walk the Masar Asharafi, which is the same path that Minotaurs take. The difference for outsiders is that you must start at the level of testing that Minotaur children take on, or the dishonored Minotaurs who are trying to recover their honor. And so that is a series of tests that actually takes place on the Temple Day. So on Temple Day, basically it's like kids who are trying to test into their next belt at karate, fallen Minotaurs who have made some terrible mistake and are trying to atone and are here to prove that, like, to start their path back to redemption, or outsiders looking for a chance to prove that they should be allowed to even participate. And then arena days follow that, and arena days are purely about the Masar. So those days are all about this ritualized honor combat, and that takes place at 4 different levels. So before the champion level. So in order to attain the rank of champion in the arena, which is the greatest honor and opens the door for certain roles within the Minotaur society, there are 4 levels to progress past that to even earn the right to challenge a champion. Champion matches are only against other champions, and so they're very rare. It's not a regular thing. But matches at the other levels are held pretty frequently. So most arena days, people expect to see a few matches at level 1, maybe 1 or 2 matches at level 2, and a match at level 3. Occasionally you'll see a level 4 match, and then maybe once a year or less, a champion level match. But in order to progress, you need to succeed in the level prior, essentially. You can only compete in a single level on a single day.
So how many days are we looking at until there's a...
It's Temple Day today.
Temple Days today.
Okay.
Arena Days tomorrow.
Arena days.
Yeah. So if you wanted, so he goes on, he's not assuming that you want to participate necessarily, he's just like kind of rambling and talking about all this.
His spiel.
But he does say if you want to go watch the games, tomorrow's when you want to go. If you go today, you're going to see a bunch of kids and outcasts, like...
Is the pay? But the pay's available either day, or just tomorrow, or just today?
Well, if you want to get paid, you need to go talk to the Synok today,
Okay,
because they're setting up tomorrow's matches.
but the match would take place tomorrow.
The match would take place tomorrow.
Gotcha.
So that's the basics, the logistics of it at the arena. So this early in the morning, the Synok right now is basically in prayer and reflection. The temple is open, but no one would greet you until noon. Noon today is when they would start preparing for matches tomorrow.
Okay. Well, Air would be interested in going
Getting some
to
money?
always.
Okay. No, I'm interested in possibly... I want to see this honor path thing. Yeah. I wonder what's
Participating?
up. Yeah,
perhaps?
and perhaps participating.
I'm interested in going, but I'm not going to participate. I might place a bet on you.
Or against.
Or yeah.
I like it. All right, well, when you finish up with breakfast, it's still on the early side. Do you want to do anything before you head down to the arena, or do you want to head there right away and see what you can learn?
Can we just kind of look around a little bit? I know it's a really small city, right? It was a fairly small city, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's bigger than Chukip.
Yeah.
But, compared to, I wouldn't call it a major city. So, like,
Okay.
compared to the capital, compared to the city where your family is based, it is smaller. But it's a bustling port town. Like I said, larger than Chukip, so it's bigger than where you all just came from.
Is it like a San Diego or a?
Yeah.
St. Louis. Right.
So I would say, like,
A Boston.
Chukip is probably the equivalent of Chukip is probably the equivalent of like Kenosha,
Oh, okay.
and Nantong is probably it's not Milwaukee size, but maybe like Eau Claire.
Okay.
Or like Madison.
Madison.
Yeah.
Probably more like
There's a
Madison.
university there.
There's a.
Yeah, that's right. It's got a university. No, there's no university at Nantung. But what there is, so you've already seen Mahala Marana. There are a few other shops. There's a very large general store that is more like the dock supply. This is the equivalent of like the not Home Depot, but what's one of the places that's like just for contractors but big?
Oh, like ABC Lumber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that kind of place. Like sometimes you'll get normal residential folks walking in here to get this or that. Like they certainly have like a retail floor, but most of the business that this big general store does is all the shipping concerns and the business and industry that's coming through here. So it's not like ABC Lumber in the sense of building contractors, but it's the equivalent of that for the shipping industry that comes in and out of Nantung. There are several major trade routes that flow through here. There's trade that comes up the river and is headed out to sea. There's trade that comes in from multiple land-based trade routes into Nantung and headed out to sea, and then obviously a lot of inbound trade from the ocean that then gets distributed back in the other direction. So there's a big general store that is basically right at the city gates. It's positioned to be easily accessible and actually has its own gate, its own smaller sort of, still heavily guarded, but its own sort of smaller commercial gate separate from the main city gate as it butts right up against the city wall so that merchant traffic can pass in and out of their own loading docks. It's big. Mahala Marana you've seen, there's some other places. There's an assortment of different inns and taverns and things like that. You, as we talked about, found yourself in sort of a place more focused on locals. Bucky's is not high end, but it's quality digs and good food, and has a pretty good local populace. But there's a number of these inns and restaurants that serve the merchant class specifically and cater more to non-Minotaur tastes. And then there's some real low-end divey places that are outside the city walls down by the docks that are for the merchant employees who actually don't make a lot of money. And then the centerpiece of the city is that very large temple arena. And if you want to walk around much beyond that, you're mostly in residential areas, which include some parks and things like that. As we talked about before, the city is very logically laid out. So it's a spoken wheel kind of layout with the arena at the center and everything like major streets heading out in 6 directions and things built in concentric rings around that with progressively higher and higher walls at each layer to the outer walls, which are really about defense. The inner ones are more about decoration, let's say, or demarcating different areas of the city. But there may be more if you get out and explore, but those are the big obvious things that you've seen so far.
Okay. Did you guys need to go to the general store for anything?
No, I think I took care of all my shopping last.
Yeah, we did a little bit of shopping last
You
time.
did too, a little. I know I must have gotten some javelins because I'm a little stacked up on javelins. And I know that that was in my head that I was looking for some. Can't remember exactly, but
A bushel of javelins.
One bushel, please.
because you throw those things, they're like the only thing I can throw at
Just start
a
to drag
mage when they're 30 feet above the ground.
Just start to
Yeah.
pull a wheeled golf bag behind you.
Let's see here.
Swish
Okay.
needs a bag of holding.
do.
Just
Hold my
like-
javelins.
pokes her head in, and there's just walls of javelins in there.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. I didn't bring the thing down here. Got
Although-
my keyring.
Oh, I have one if you don't.
Oh,
If you guys can think of anything at some point, I would like to get some other type of projectile weapon,
okay. Go get it.
crossbow or something like that at some point.
You do it. You can whatever you want. You can do it now. You can do it later.
Yeah, let's do it later. I'm just gonna keep that
Here, why don't you just take my light crossbow that I never
Never
use?
use.
Do you have to use 2 hands for it? For a crossbow?
It's a light crossbow, so I think it's just one, right?
Uh-huh.
Or is that or is a hand
No,
crossbow?
there's a
different?
hand crossbow.
There's a light, hand crossbow, light crossbow.
So you do need 2 hands for this.
Okay.
You want to like wield one crossbow and
Yeah, well, I want to hold my shield. I
Oh,
don't have to
right,
put
right.
down my shield all the time.
Just sling it across your back.
True. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, on a single
not now.
on a single combat round, as a quote unquote free action,
Mm-hmm.
you can swap back and forth between your weapons one time.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll think about that going forward here. For right now, I got javelins, so
Okay.
javelins of the wazoo here.
I do. I have a bunch of wet javelins.
Potter puts the crossbow back on the exocom.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe there's some point I'll borrow that from you.
If
We'll
you
see.
just keep it.
That's true.
Again, I've never I have it in here, and I've never used it.
Huh.
Is this a rare situation where Potem is like trying to get rid of something? I always envisioned him as like kind of a hoarder that would just like hold
He's
on
given
to-
you stuff. He's been like,
Oh, that's
here's
right.
the breastplate.
Oh.
Pulls it off the exocom, hands
then-
it over,
And then very
comes
like
across stuff.
then Air just like discards it pretty quickly.
Yeah, no.
It's a different-
It's like, I need a different breastplate. I'm gonna go buy one.
I don't want your junk.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Right back on the exocom.
Yeah, I think. Well, can we just kind of do? Let's walk outside and just kind of take a peek around and stuff.
Yeah,
Can
we.
just,
I think that we can also just say we just generally do day-to-day stuff, go and see things, and
See the sights.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Why don't you make a if we're not specifically looking for something, somebody make a perception check and somebody make an insight check.
I'll make an insight check.
Perception. 16.
12.
Okay. So there's a couple things I would say you notice as you walk around. First, this seems to be by contrast to some of the other vassals that you have seen in the Empire. So in Chukip, that would mean primarily the Tabaxi, but some of the Knolls and others, and in Saltmarsh Landing and Featherwand, primarily Tabaxi, but some others. And maybe some of your other exploration at different times, not you as much, Potem, because this is your first time in the Empire. But by contrast, the Minotaurs here seem much more prosperous and somewhat more independent than others. There is a relatively light blade presence here. Or it maybe just seems light inside the city. I'll put it that way. But there's in Chukip, you were accustomed frequently to seeing. Well, there were a lot more elves, first of all, but you were accustomed to seeing like Tabaxi sort of genuflecting out of the way of an elf coming by in the street, or someone clearing a path for a carriage of an elf noble heading up, and everybody scattering to make room for it. And here you don't see a lot of that. There's not a lot of outward.
Classism?
What's that?
Classism? Like, sort of.
Or
It's not as obvious. I'll put it that
Okay.
way.
imperialism, just
Imperialism?
like colonial.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with a 12 on insight, I would say it's not easy for you to tell why. Like, you can imagine some possibilities. Like, first of all, Minotaurs are physically very intimidating, so maybe it just feels that way because most of these creatures are a full foot taller than any elf walking around out here and look pretty capable, and so they may not just visually seem as cowed as that was an unintentional pun as some of the other vassals you've seen, or maybe there's something real here. Maybe it is just fundamentally different. Maybe this vassal state is
They make
managed differently.
they make a lot of money for the empire, and
Yeah, that could be too.
Why
Maybe it's
disrupt
just a
a good
light
thing?
touch, right? It's hard to know for sure, but what you do notice is, other than what you saw on the walls, there's not a lot of groups of blades roaming out here. You do see from time to time what look like imperial officials, maybe checking in with market stalls or walking somewhere with a sheaf of papers or things like that. But you're not seeing a lot of armed Elden Empire troops marching up and down the streets. There doesn't seem to be a police presence here the way that there was in some of the other places you've been, Chukip in particular. The other thing that you notice is the city is not just laid out well. Everything here is very well built, well constructed, and you hear a number of different languages spoken as well. So that's not a total surprise, as this is a port and trade city, so you expect some cosmopolitan mixing, but you run into a number of Minotaurs who are not just bilingual but multilingual. There seem to be a lot of very well-educated people which is a little surprising to you because this is a port town. It's not like a major center of learning, but this is another possibly noticeable difference between the vassal territories, is that there's a strong emphasis put on education here, and it is obvious in the citizens. There's one other thing that you notice. And that is the very visible, rare but visible outcasts. So you recall back in Chukip, the Minotaur dockmaster, who was shamed and had his horns removed.
Kind of it was our fault, but
No.
Nice.
And here in Nantong, you come across a few Minotaurs that have similarly had their horns tipped. They're not in stocks. They're not like locked up like criminals, but they are, by and large, universally dirty, obviously poor or perhaps unhomed, on the side of the street, often begging. And the Minotaur population here does not treat them well. It is a glaring difference to a lot of the sort of warm and articulate and engaging people that you've met here. When Minotaurs pass these dishonored, the best case scenario is they ignore them. But they are the subject of scorn. And you see that 2 or 3 times just in the morning.
Are these the Minotaurs that are, like, can earn their honor again through...
Yeah, so it's a little unclear to you how that works.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get a detailed explanation from the innkeeper. It's something you could ask about at the temple, for sure. But when he referred to the dishonored, you assume maybe there's shades of gray there or levels of extremity that you're not aware of, but it seems like those would be the ones that he's referring to.
Okay.
Well, should we
head over?
head over to the temple?
Okay. It's easy. Temple's easy to get to from anywhere in the city because it is the center. So you just find one of the major spoke streets and wander your way down. And as you approach, you realize that your sense of scale, because of the way the city was laid out, is a little different, because the city is set into sort of a concave land mass, so it's sort of bowl shaped. And as you get closer and closer, as you head downhill towards the arena, it becomes clear that the arena and temple is larger than it looks from a distance. And so this is very much like Roman Colosseum scale. It's big. You're guessing just from the outside that it could easily seat 5,000 people in the stands. It's a massive stone structure, and there are multiple entrances all the way around. But right in front of you, you see that the gate is closed. So if you explore a little bit, you'll find that only one gate is open on these days. And there's a very small crowd outside that gate currently. Mostly minotaurs, but a few others kind of hanging out. It is almost high noon, and that gate has yet to fully open, but it's the only place that has activity outside.
Okay.
Is there I mean, is it a large crowd, or do you think it's like kind of just?
It's like a dozen people
okay.
kind of hanging out. Most of them, it looks a lot like at an airport gate where it's close to boarding time, but they haven't announced boarding yet. So like there's some pretty impatient people who are right by the door, just staring in through the bars of the gate. And then there's a whole bunch of people who are like close enough, but they're talking to each other, or they're staring off into space.
Sure.
Talking to somebody on their fantasy AirPods.
Sure.
Something like that.
Pacing back and forth. Very important.
Very important
very,
calls.
Very important.
Mm-hmm.
I've reached my sending stone limit for the day.
Yeah, but as you approach, a few look up and kind of, some give you sort of an appraising look, others glance at you quickly and then lose interest. There's an array of different people here. Mm-hmm. Some look very much like warriors. They're armed, they're armored, they've got scars. Others look like commoners, or perhaps people of learning, dressed in, maybe not expensive clothing, but clean, modest clothing, maybe carrying some scrolls or parchments, or some satchels. So there's a mix of folks here.
Anyone that looks like a authority figure, or someone who's...
Not yet, no. But unless you've got something you want to do and engage this crowd with, I would say if you wait just a little bit, the inner gate swings open, and emerging from inside, you see a female minotaur with sort of long, flowing, heavy robes in a deep red color trimmed in gold step out, and she spreads her arms wide and invokes a ritual greeting in a language that you don't understand, and then switches back to common and says, "The temple is open. Please, all are welcome. Come inside. If you are joining us to learn or to pray, please move to your left as you enter. If you're joining us to prepare for tomorrow, please move to your right as you enter." And with that, she turns and walks inside.
It wasn't Minotaur that she's speaking in, right? Because I do speak Minotaur.
It was not.
Okay.
The ritual greeting was in a language that none of you recognize.
Okay. Right.
Well, Air, I think, looks at the rest of the group and it's like,
well,
Need
I
some
guess
money.
one of you is going left and one of you is going right.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there goes right.
See you in a bit. I'll go
Going-
left.
Split the party.
I will.
Look for the betting.
Yeah, no,
That's
I guess there wouldn't be betting today. It was. I guess I'll
Maybe they're
be
saying
going
the-
with
the
the
rates of
prayer
the-
group, because I imagine that there's probably a section that is for us observers.
Yeah,
Maybe,
fair.
maybe they're setting the line though today. Maybe they 3-1 too.
So, Air, as you step in, so again, this is set up very much like a coliseum. So the outer ring is basically like a broad hallway. You can picture it like at any sports arena, right? The concourse that goes around. There's
Yeah.
that. and then there's some other stuff on the inner edge of that, some offices and rooms and things like that that you can sort of duck into. So, Air, you head to the right, and about half the group heads that way as well. By and large, it's the ones who are heavily armed, armored,
Air feels right at home.
etc. You do notice immediately, though, that among the groups, or not among, I should say, standing separate from the group, they're giving this person some distance. There is a male minotaur with his horns tipped.
Mhm.
He has what looks like a makeshift club that he's pulled together, probably with some building materials. It's essentially a piece of iron rebar with a chunk of stone attached to the end. So it looks malicious. It's not
Could do
something
some
you
damage.
want to mess with, probably, but it is definitely
Not as sophisticated.
Not a honed blade.
no. It's a homemade weapon. He is not armored. He's just dressed in rags, and no one's going near him. And he's walking with this group as well. But he seems to know where he's going. So you notice that, like he's walking with a purpose here.
Well, Air falls in line. Go with the flow. The box is buzzing. I mean, let's just like keep this momentum going.
Did I just was I supposed to? Wait, that was just for the going left was just for people that were wanting to
Get
make
paid.
money.
No,
Yes.
the other way around. No, right was paid.
Yeah.
Oh
Right,
yeah,
okay,
right.
we're-
And so left
is
is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
To be more clear, going left was for people who are here to pray or learn.
Okay.
Going right was for people who are here to prepare for tomorrow.
Oh, so yeah, I did want to go right. I was
Oh.
thinking I did want to get paid, so
I also thought
I got confused.
Oh.
Sorry. Sorry.
all good.
So yes, I do. All of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't where I want to be.
You're like,
And I got
Yeah.
wait,
school
hey,
children.
Yeah.
Air!
Yeah, I think that's.
Wait up,
I
Eric.
think it probably actually becomes really obvious about
Yeah.
like 10 steps down the hall
Yeah.
because everyone around you is like teachers or
Yeah.
School
No,
children.
Yeah.
Children.
Okay, no, man, I hate it when I don't listen right.
So you quickly catch up
I quickly catch
with the group.
Air, wait.
The other group that
Air
is
just rolls her eyes.
that you're walking with, Potom, is again mostly, this looks like civilians for the most part. Some intellectuals and folks like that. It's a shorter walk for you, and you quickly come around the corner and turn right into a modest size room. It is sort of trapezoidal, I would say, in shape. So the wall that you enter from is longer than the inner wall that you're facing, as it is kind of part of the ring. And inside there are a series of alcoves all around the outside of the room. Each of those alcoves has a small bench that it looks like one or two people are already kneeling at in prayer. There are set into the alcove basically little shrines, and each shrine either has a sculpture or a statue of a warrior in some sort of combat pose, or in some cases, instead of a warrior, there's a literal weapon, not a sculpture of a weapon, but a weapon mounted there. There are some very heavy-duty short swords. There is a wicked-looking spiked morning star kind of mace. There's one that has double hand crossbows sort of mounted on the wall. There's probably 20 of these alcoves all the way around, and maybe 50-50 weapons and statues.
Do any of them like look newer than the other? Oh, I suppose I'm not.
Yeah,
Never
that's
mind.
what-
Sorry.
Well, can I go and just take a closer look at
Yeah.
one of the alcoves?
The one other thing I'll tell you is in the middle of the room, in all the open space in the room, there are essentially long community tables, and at each of those community tables is a member of the Synok, one of these priestesses, is sort of posted up there, and they essentially look to be answering questions for folks, or sometimes are sitting sort of to the side, face to face with somebody who looks like maybe even counseling them or sort of getting into a deeper conversation with an individual. But there are 4 of them here in the room, sort of just generally looking available
Sure.
to folks. But yeah, as you kind of make your way around, why don't you make either a perception or an investigation check for me?
Let's go investigation. 18.
Okay. Yeah, so it doesn't take a lot of observation for you because you are somebody who pays close attention to how things are made and the materials used and things like that. So you pick up pretty quickly that starting on the left, the alcoves are oldest to newest. So the alcove immediately to your left has a statue of a warrior in it that you are certain at a glance is, I wouldn't say ancient, but it has been here for a long time, hundreds of years. And it seems to progressively be getting newer and newer. In fact, the rightmost alcove of this room stands empty. And the newest item that is filled in one of these alcoves is a massive two-handed sword that is a design you've never seen. It's not the sword's not sharp. It basically looks like if somebody took an 8-foot 2x4 made of steel and put a handle on the end and a crossbar. That's what this thing is. And it has some dents on it, and maybe if you look closely, just a little bit of dry blood still.
Sure.
But it is expertly mounted up in this alcove. The other thing that you notice is, even though you can tell that there's an age difference here, it's clear that these relics, especially the weapons, but everything here, is being magically cared for. So there's some kind of magical maintenance that's keeping these things in good shape.
But not cleaning them, apparently. Dried blood and
Right.
everything.
Right.
Well, you got to leave the patina.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's
Desirable.
some kind of not shielding in the sense that like you can't attack this or whatever, but like people are touching these things, right? When they're praying. It's not like if you're in a castle in Europe and you're going to get scolded for touching. Like people are, I can't take them off the mounting, but people are like touching these statues and praying, and it's not leaving any. Nobody's sticky fingers are leaving gross residue on the stuff, right? Like they're magically cared for in some
Sure.
way. And then the last thing I'll say is, while there is not it's not like a museum where there's like a description of what this is or who this dude was, but each of these things is marked, and it's marked with a year, and then there's a consistent seal that is. Essentially, it's like a stylized axe head is what it looks like, but it's in the shape of a sort of a coin. It looks like a stamp in the stone that each of these things is mounted on. And if you want to engage any of the members of the Synok to ask about any of this, you certainly can. Like I said, they're sort of standing ready.
So everyone else that came in there is praying or talking. They're all deep in study. Yeah, I guess I'll just engage one of the Synoks.
Okay. So they, first of all, there's just a slight look of surprise for like a half second on the face of this female Minotaur as she sees you. I think that's
climb up on a stool next to her.
Yeah, I think it's a reaction you're sort of becoming used to on this side of the world, because you're the only rock gnome most people have ever seen.
Right.
There's not a lot of rock gnomes running around, at least in this part of the world. So there's sort of a moment of oh.
Oh, a little talking statue.
Yeah, what's this? What's this then? But she seems to kind of check herself quickly. This particular priestess looks to be older. A lot of her body hair is gray. and what is not is a deep black. She has smaller horns than some of the minotaurs that you have encountered, and they sort of fade to the back in an interesting way, but is highly decorated. So there is a nose ring attached to a chain that goes back to a ring in one of her ears. Both horns are tipped in sort of a filigreed gold with little gemstones in them, dripping in rings and chains and things like that. You don't know if that's a sign of rank or esteem, or if she just really likes bling.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of her affect. And she greets you after that moment of surprise. Greets you warmly and says, "Small one, welcome to our temple. How can I be of service to you?"
Well, I'm essentially just passing through, but heard that this was the place to be, and, well, not that I approve of violence, even just as a practice of honor. I am always a student, and so I guess is how I ended here.
Well, the pursuit of honor in any form is worthy. While not all pursue honor through conflict, as do the Oshira, we recognize that the path to honor for every person is different. And the pursuit of honor through learning is a recognized path of the Oshira as well. If you are here to learn, while we cannot provide the depth of resource that some of our cities that are centers, some of the centers of learning in our society can, Nantong has no university, no colleges, but we do have many learned folk here, and some among the Sinok are of substantial intellect. What is your area of practice, if I might ask?
Oh, I build stuff.
An engineer, then?
Yes.
Excellent. A most respectable path. The pursuit of knowledge and its application in the world. This is held in esteem at the same level as our greatest warriors in Minotaur society. A warrior of the mind.
Yes. So, are these your heroes?
Heroes is perhaps not the right word. This is a hall of champions. Each of these champions has achieved the highest level of honor within the Oshira that is possible through the Masar Asharafi. They have defeated all 4 tests and then bested a champion in the arena. And all have gone on to contribute to the Oshira in their own incredible ways. Those who come here to the Hall of Champions do so to not only reflect on the struggle of the champions as they made their way to their rank, but much more so to reflect on what they did for the Broad family after they achieved that level of influence. Back to the very first champion, and she points at the oldest alcove there. The great Sarek, who defined the role of champion and then went on to guide the Ashira as leader for over 5 decades, falling only when the Empire came. To some of our newer champions, who she points to the metal 2x4 sword, who are out in the world now, seeking ways to benefit and protect and enrich the Oshira, exploring the wastes, or researching at our universities, trying to discover and unlock more of the world. In this room, we recognize not only warriors, but poets, engineers, scientists, arcanists of great renown. The path is one of duality in the Hall of Champions. We recognize the discipline and the sacrifice required to achieve the rank. But what we truly come here to celebrate and research and learn from is what our champions do with the rank, with the resources and privilege and authority that is unlocked when they achieve the rank of champion. That is the true purpose of the Hall of Champions, the true learning.
Interesting.
With that, she turns and engages someone who's also at the table, and you overhear just briefly as she starts speaking to someone who is a school teacher who has 3 younglings, basically, who are meant to be tested tomorrow. And she's explaining to them some of the basics, tested this afternoon. And she's explaining to them some of the basics of the testing and what will be required. And the most important thing that you overhear is that the tests today are, first of all, non-lethal, or not even particularly risky physically, but they are meant to be intimidating because, though the children are not told this, the purpose of the test is not to see whether children can succeed at the task set before them, but rather to be observed by members of the Synod to determine whether they will approach the tests with honor and whether they have the courage to put forth the effort or overcome or persist through the difficulties. So they're discussing some of the nuances of that and what a teacher is allowed to do to prepare their students for the test and what they are not. So you learn a little bit about that sort of base level honor testing. Let's jump to the other side of the building. So you all are walking a little bit further, but after about 10 minutes or so of walking, the person furthest in the lead, who looks like they've been here before, takes a hard left through a tunnel and emerges out into the arena itself. I'll give you a look at this.
Oh, sweet.
So the arena floor is about what you'd expect. It's covered in sand. There's some maybe remnants of past battles here and there, some scorch marks on the walls and things like that. But at this time, the arena is empty, except for your small group and a single robed female member of the Synod, a Minotaur, standing in the center of the arena. And as you approach, you can see that unlike every other member of the Synod that you've encountered so far, this Minotaur is in white robes trimmed in red and gold. So there is you're not sure what that means, but there's a clear ranking difference here. As you approach, she welcomes the group, spreads her arms, and you hear that same ritual greeting that you did outside. And then she switches to common and says, "Greetings, good day to all of you. I am Rais Al-Madina Omari, the administrator of Nanton." When she says the word administrator, there is just a small bit of sarcasm or perhaps derision there. It's hard to tell exactly, but it's enough. There's emphasis on that word, perhaps. And a couple of the Minotaurs in the group even sort of snort under their breath. Not laughing, but like grumpy snort. Put it that way. She goes on. You stand in the center of our most holy temple, a site where champions have proven their honor, a site where others have fallen in the esteem of the Oshira. It remains to be seen whether each of you will rise or fall here. But know that whatever you choose, your presence in this arena is at the discretion of the Synok. There is no empire here. In the arena, there is only the Oshira, there is only honor. If you have never been here before, and at this point she looks at the two of you particularly, but there's a couple others.
What, do we stand out?
I never stand out.
There will be some explanation required. For those who already have chosen their path, you may proceed and begin your registration process. And at that, a number of the sort of heavily armed, especially Minotaurs, well, it's all Minotaurs, who head off in one direction. They walk right past her and basically head to a set of stairs that lead down. So you entered over here. They're headed there basically to that gate, and that gate stands open. There's a broad set of stairs that head down. There are 2 Minotaurs and 2 gnolls who are waiting around, and they sort of give a look, and then they head this way to a set of stairs that lead up. Mm-hmm. And then all that's left are the 2 of you and the Minotaur whose horns are tipped. Rais Omari looks at the 2 of you first, dismisses, doesn't make eye contact with the dishonored, but looks at the 2 of you and says, "Outsiders, visitors, welcome. Are you aware of what you pursue? Do you understand what we do here in the arena?"
Well, I thought I did.
Yeah. No, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Minotaurs and the path of the Oshira, and I would like to possibly begin to explore, if there's a way for me down this path.
And then Air pipes in. I also understand that you trade coin for combat, and that's my purpose.
I'm here for cash.
And not so many words. I'm here to get paid.
So she nods at both of you. There's no real difference in her reaction to either of you. She's just sort of nods and says,
"You got a job, and I want to do the job."
Yeah.
So I don't know what to tell you.
She says, "Indeed, here in the arena there are but 2 paths. There is a path for reward. We do require assistance to test those who wish to pursue the path of honor."
It's an honorable choice in its own.
It is.
It's a service. It's
It is a transaction, and one that we require.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is what you pursue, she points behind her to the path that those 2 gnolls and the other 2 Minotaurs took, heading up the stairs. And she sort of just gives you that visual direction.
Air starts to leave without letting her finish.
Okay, fair. And then she turns back to you and says, "All are welcome to walk the Masar Asharafi. Not all are capable, but we wish all to try. The vision of our society is to bring the entire world under the folds of our broad family, to welcome all to the Ashira. However, one does not simply step into the arena. As an outsider, one who as yet carries no honor, you must be tested. And you must be tested in the same way that all are tested.
I would expect nothing less.
Against school children.
You must kill all the school children.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, dude, how was your
Hi.
game? Not so good? Did you have fun, though? Or did you play okay? No? Okay. Need to cool down a bit? You're hot? Alright, we'll see you in a little bit. Go get some water. You must be tested. And at this, she does not make eye contact with the dishonored Minotaur, she does say, and for some, retested. And then,
Yeah, the lily of the valley. There, I know, you could smell them in the whole kitchen.
she says, should you wish to be tested, you must remain here. The testing will begin in about an hour. Should you succeed in the testing, you will be welcomed to challenge yourself in a match tomorrow. I will make the arrangements.
Is there any, do you have a recommendation for preparation that I can do in the next hour or so? Or is it just come as I am?
I will simply say this. The testing is not physical. You will undertake physical challenges, but that is not the purpose of the testing. We test to ensure that those who are invited to walk the path of honor are capable of honor. We do not wish to waste the time or the resources of this temple on those who are pursuing the path for the wrong purpose. So the purpose of the testing is to determine whether one wishes to walk the path of the Oshira truly. You may wish, and at this she says more broadly to everyone within her hearing,
Within earshot.
you may wish to meditate on the meaning of honor before the testing begins. And at that, she turns on her heels and walks out, following where the bulk of the Minotaurs who were here went. Over the course of the next hour, so there's a couple things. First, back in the Hall of Champions, after a while, people start to filter out. And some of them are just headed out of the arena entirely, or out of the temple. But a few, including that school teacher that you heard, make their way to a smaller gate and meet some students. And then, after they give them a little bit of instruction, point, and then they actually head up into the seats of the arena. And you can see that there's
I'm just
space
gonna
for you to sit
follow
and watch
around.
if you
Yeah.
want. Okay. Potom, you enter up here somewhere, and there's obviously lots of seating available here. People start to come in around this time, but it's mostly barren. This is the equivalent of like people going to Lambeau to watch a practice or something, right? There's maybe a couple hundred people in here. When you climb up the stairs, you are greeted with two members of the Synox sitting at a table, and they that's a
I was
big,
not expecting
Ow.
it to be that heavy.
big heavy die.
Kind of hurt my ear a little.
And you basically get in line, and when you get up to the front of the table, they tell you that if you would like to participate in a match, if you'd like to be placed in a match, that you will earn 50 gold pieces for your participation. That matches for gold are life protected, which doesn't mean that you can't get hurt, but it does mean that Synod clerics are on hand for emergency healing, so they will try not to let you die, basically. And that should you complete a match and enjoy it and wish to do it again, that your pay will increase over time along with your capability.
Now
so
we're talking.
basically, the way that they describe this and the way that it's explained to all of you is there's these 4 levels.
Right.
And if you want to be, if you want to help out with a level with a match at level 1, it's 50 gold.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to help out in matches that are at higher levels, you can make more.
Okay.
Substantially more.
Yep.
But there's higher risk.
Right.
Mm-hmm. As this hour passes, and as you are sort of parked in the arena meditating, there is a lot of activity that starts to take place in here. First of all, a variety of students start entering the arena, and they're kind of milling around, like standing in awkward little clumps, talking to each other. Some of them sit and sort of meditate themselves. Others are sort of nervously pacing. They're not armed, but some of them are wearing like light leather armor or what the fantasy equivalent of like workout clothes, right? athleisure wear, Minotaur athleisure wear. Yeah. But the other thing that happens is a number of members of the Synod come in and they start to uncover some things in the arena. So there are a couple of pits here that were not obvious. They also start to wheel in some equipment, right? Like it's the equivalent of like big playground equipment, like big wooden beams, monkey bar kind of stuff, balance beams, this sort of thing. And they start assembling what amounts to an obstacle course with different stations at it. And then finally, there is a sound that you start to hear, which reveals itself to be a series of cages being wheeled in that contain some beasts. They are very, very large goats. So there are 4 like mountain goats, but they're the size of bison, each in their own separate cage, being wheeled in, and 3 of them look fairly calm. One of them is just ramming its horns against the enclosure over and over and over again. These are easily 800-pound animals, each one. And those are wheeled over to sort of a corner of the arena. So that's what's going on as things are being prepared. Anything that anybody here wants to do? Well, first, what's your decision here?
Well, Era wants to get paid, but she's also not stupid. I think she's just going to go for the level 1 and see how it goes here. So
Yeah.
she volunteered to sign up for 50 gold, level 1.
Okay, sounds good. They accept that.
Do I have to sign a contract or something?
Yeah, they sort of mark your name
book?
in the books.
Yeah, the books.
Yeah, and they basically tell you to be at the arena at sunrise tomorrow, at which point you will find out what time your match is. You don't have to necessarily hang out at the arena all day,
Right.
but you got to come first thing and find out when your match is, and then you can go do whatever and come back and compete.
Yeah, Era also asks if there's like any ground rules or something like that, or is it just
Sure.
kind of like all anything goes?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, well, you'll have to sort of pretend like you don't hear this, I guess. What's explained to you is that on your side of the combat, there are no rules.
Oh, okay.
Just try to win,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like for you,
Mm-hmm.
and try not to die. Also,
Well, yeah, ideally.
there is one rule that's clear to everybody, which is you are not allowed to leave the confines of the arena. So it is forbidden, on penalty of interference by the Synod, to like go up into the stands or to leave the boundaries of the arena. So the fight cannot put civilians at risk.
No Lambo leaps.
No Lambo leaps, no fireballs that include whose radius includes the stands. things like that. But
Do you have to fight until you're incapacitated, or is it there? Can you like
yeah,
yield?
it is a
as,
fight.
like,
It's a fight to submission.
right.
So
Okay. So you could.
you can audibly submit
Yeah.
if you want, or if you're left unconscious.
Sure. Yep. Okay.
If you get knocked down.
Get up.
Get up again. Yeah, if you can get up again, then certainly try.
I can't. Am I able to walk out and look at these goat things?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go over to the one that's really agitated. And I'd like to try to use my speak with animals again.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Finally.
Sure.
Finally.
Talk to
yeah.
the goat?
No, I'd like to talk to the goat. Just see where he's at. Hey, brother, what's going on?
His headspace, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you cast speak with animals and you greet this
I
goat.
Greet him.
I hope I'm not slaughtering
goatish.
you tomorrow.
Yes.
So he hears your greeting and in like mid head bash kind of pauses and then kind of turns and looks back at you and he's like, "Did you just talk to me?"
Oh yeah, I did. No, I did. Are you doing okay?
No, I am not here for this today.
Have you been here before?
Yes.
Can you tell me anything about your role or what happens here?
Yes. It's hot. They don't feed me. I sit here all day in this cage. And then little creatures try to knock me down. It sucks. I'll be honest, it sucks. I just want to leave.
Will they feed you after at least?
Yes. But it's hot. And it's
Aw.
all day. And they always pick me.
Aw.
Something about my horns. I don't know.
Well, you do have very nice horns.
Well, thanks.
That was
Yeah,
something.
Nice. I
Yeah.
try. I really. I bash them into things a lot
Yeah.
to keep them sharp. I grind them on the rocks. It's
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
it takes a lot of work. A lot of people think this just happens naturally, like I was born with horns like this, and I wasn't. You have to try. There's a maintenance protocol, you know. So I appreciate that. That's
Okay.
very nice of you to say.
Okay. Well, I hope your day goes okay.
Well, thanks. Thanks. You know what? I already feel a little bit better. I didn't think I was going to get to have a conversation. These yahoos barely talk.
Yeah.
They love it when they got nothing better to do.
Yeah.
But
You have things to do outside the arena.
well, you know, I've had my eye on
A
certain female goat.
certain someone.
She's new to the pasture, and I got my horns looking just the way I want them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I get yanked in here for another one of the whatever this is.
Whatever. Okay.
It's a lot.
Well, we may see each other later.
Well,
We
we might.
might. Okay. Well,
Sorry
thanks.
in advance if I hit you really hard.
Oh, that's okay. I can take it.
Okay. All right. Good talk.
Good talk.
A female goat is a doe or a nanny?
Nanny
Nanny.
goat. It's a nanny
There's
goat.
certain nanny. I got my eyes.
I got a
Nanny goat, I got my eye
I'm
on.
a new nanny.
Her name's Nan. Nan the nanny.
man.
Well, yeah.
I bring her over to a mushroom patch I just found the other day.
Yeah, right.
They were delicious. Okay, so without further ado, right about the time that the sun makes its way behind the very high wall of the arena, so you're starting to get a shadow cast into the arena. The head priestess, who you met earlier, Omari, walks out, and as soon as she makes her re-entrance into the arena, all the students fall silent immediately. And this is where
She's that grade school teacher energy, right?
yeah, big high school principal energy.
Yeah.
Flickers the lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they sort of start to gather up near the center of the arena. This is when you notice that the Dishonored is also still here. and he has just sort of fallen to the very back of the crowd and is standing a good 10-15 feet away from the group of younglings. There's a few of them who are sort of glancing at him and snickering, but mostly they're ignoring him outright. And I assume you approach as well, so that you're within earshot. So she looks out at all of you and says, "Younglings, and all who have come to be tested, today is an important day, but not the most important day. It is merely the first step, your opportunity to prove that you are worthy of the path, that you are ready for the trials ahead. We have high expectations of you. You have learned and trained and practiced for this day. But remember, the Masar Asharafi is a path that takes a lifetime to walk. Should you stumble today, there is no dishonor. You simply must try again." As she says this, a few of the students, you kind of see out of the corner of your eye, 2 or 3 of them sort of sigh deeply at this mention, and you're not sure if that's because they don't have a lot of confidence about today's test, or if maybe they are back for another attempt, having failed before. But at this point, she gestures out to sort of this obstacle course that you see, and she says, "For those of you that have been here before, you know that the testing is always changing. You will not face the same challenges that you did in years prior, nor will you face the same challenges of your siblings or parents or others that have come before you. Remember, the path of honor is what you pursue. So try, be brave, work hard, but walk the path." And with that, she steps away and waits. Now, what I will tell you is that the sort of obstacle course here is laid out in a fairly obvious series. So it's kind of set up like circuit training. It's not one big long obstacle course. There are 4 stations, and you are closest to one of them. The first station is essentially a long horizontal wooden pole. Looks like a tree trunk or a ship's mast. It is, you can tell even from here, even though the shadow has fallen on the arena, that it is either polished, shellacked, or greased. And it is about 6 feet off the ground, and the ground below the pole is littered with something glittering and sharp. Maybe broken glass, kind of hard to see from where you're standing.
Children do this? Okay.
The second is sort of a much higher obstacle. It is approximately a 15-foot high wall, a wooden wall. There is a rope dangling from the top of the wall that only descends maybe 5 feet. So the rope itself is still a good 10 feet off the ground. And the wall is, you can tell from here, is of dubious quality. Potom, you can see this very obviously. You look at this from a distance and you're like, "What?
That's not gonna
I
hold
wouldn't
much."
trust that. I wouldn't trust that. It's got all kinds of problems. Looks like a bunch of priestesses built that."
I wonder if they have who their contractor is.
Yeah. The third station is a circular pen. It's basically a small split rail fence, basically, that is built, probably about 30-foot diameter, and there's a goat, a very large goat, standing in the middle of it. And then the fourth station is basically a circle marked out on the ground, probably about 10 feet across. And there is just a member of the Synox standing there in the center of the circle. There is probably it feels longer, but there's probably a 5-second pause after she says what she says and steps back. What do you do?
About how many kids am I standing there with? And a minotaur?
There's about 12 kids and this dishonored.
And the dishonored. Is anyone stepping forward, or is anyone doing it? I'm just gonna hold for a second and see what people do.
So if you pause, 2 of these younglings start running. They start running straight for the greased pole.
Okay.
The dishonored, make a perception check for me.
12.
Okay. You don't notice, but he has not. You don't notice what I was thinking of, but he doesn't take off right away.
Okay.
The other students seem to be kind of trying to decide what to do, or looking a little confused, like they haven't really been. Clearly, they weren't given instructions about what the right thing to do was in this moment.
Okay.
But
I'm
two of them
gonna-
are running for the pole.
I'm gonna walk over to the pole
Okay.
behind the 2 that are running.
Okay.
Nonchalantly, just
Well, no, I stride toward the
Sure.
pole, and
Walk with
and,
purpose.
Yes,
Stride
I do.
purposefully
I'm
towards the
not trying to outrun those 2 little kids running to the pole, but I'm gonna walk over to the pole.
All right. Very good.
I saw this image of this giant silver dragonborn like looming over all these children.
I know, and so did I.
Little Minotaur
And a
children.
minotaur
Yeah.
children, yeah.
Yeah, and the Minotaur children, I will say, are almost as tall as you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, are they? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the full-grown Minotaurs,
I always thought
their foreheads are probably higher than the top of your head, and with
Okay.
their horns, they appear substantially
Definitely larger.
taller.
They're definitely wider, too.
Yes.
Like, they're
Yeah.
so
Oh.
I'm,
You're big, but
I
Minotaurs
am.
are really
yeah.
big.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm like 6.5 feet tall.
Oh, I kind of just
Yeah, I'm like
envision you guys as
6.5
like
feet
about the same.
tall, and
but-
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
About the same size, but they're substantial.
I'll say there's Minotaurs in town that you can look eye to eye.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, especially the males,
Mm-hmm.
some of them are a full head taller than
Mm.
you. Some of them are 7.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
8 feet to the tip of their horns.
You know, we used to go visit this city of Minotaurs when I was younger. My father would go on these vacations, and there were definitely a few fine young Minotaurs that
Bonham's going to lean over to the teacher and be like, "She's telling the Minotaur story again."
If I hear this,
I do like a nicely formed Minotaur.
I think I think the teacher looks over and then realizes he can't see where the voice is coming from, and then looks down and basically sees a rock on the seat next to him, and he's like, "Oh, yes, I'm sure."
Watch, she'll talk about the flowing fur again or hair.
So the first Minotaur youth ahead of you just rolled a natural 20, and they race up ahead, leap up onto this pole, and just full speed across it. Like if you've seen American Ninja Warrior or something like that kind of thing, and some of those people that clear it in one go because they're just going top speed. It doesn't look like they're doing anything special. They're just going real fast. So somehow they skip all the hard stuff. That's this kid. He just burns across it. Looks like his feet barely touch the ground. And he leaps off the other side and starts moving towards the wall. But walking towards the wall, not running. Second kid, 19.
Oh wow.
Second kid jumps up, and very similar. Maybe not quite as fast as the first kid, but jumps off the far side. And now it's clear to you that the first kid was actually slowing his pace to wait for the second kid as they move together towards the wall, side by side.
Has anyone come up with me? Or is anyone else just still kind of chilling back there?
You are the
Just
third
kind of
one
third.
to arrive at the
Okay.
at the pole. If
All
you look
right.
behind you, some of the younger ones are starting to move
Okay.
now towards you, but you're next up.
All right. Let's do it.
Okay. Um,
Athletics?
yeah. So describe to me how Freya would approach this.
No, Freya's thinking about her claws too, you know. So I am gonna jump up because how far up is it?
It's about 6 feet high.
About
There's
6
stairs
feet
that go
high.
up to the pole.
Oh,
so
okay,
like,
yeah.
You don't have to like leap up to the pole. The purpose of the challenge seems to be, don't fall on the broken glass.
Yeah, well, I definitely am not. I'm definitely going to go across with some speed. So I will definitely go across with some speed, and I have claws on my feet too that I can dig into the pole as I'm going along.
Okay.
So that's our.
Well, let's do it this way. I'd like you to make an athletics check first
Okay.
to see how hard you can hold on with your feety claws.
22.
22 is really good. So you're going to roll your acrobatics check at advantage.
Okay.
So give me an acrobatics check at advantage.
10 or 10.
A 10. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. You jump up, you lock your claws in. The good news is you don't seem to be falling off.
But I'm not going that fast.
You're not going fast. You're not running across this log. You're walking across this log, gripping your nails in
Okay.
To do it. But you do make it across.
Okay.
Probably about 30 seconds it takes you to cross here. There's nary a wobble as you
Okay.
go, and you've left some pretty deep gashes in this pole. And then you just hop down on the far side. As you look behind you, you see there's now about 5 younglings like in queue waiting to get up and do this. But the one who's right behind you is hesitating. They're sort of like, they're a little anxious, you can tell. And as you look ahead of you, you see that the pair that raced across are cooperating right now. One is try to lifting the other onto his shoulders to try to push him up so he can grab the rope.
Oh.
And let's see if he can save it at disadvantage. He cannot. So
Okay.
the one kind of tries to boost him up, but halfway up his strength sort of fails him and he starts to wobble, and the kid up there who's reaching for the rope doesn't get it and topples over, and they both land splat in the dust, and a big puff of dust comes up. While they're getting up and kind of brushing themselves off, that's about the time that you jog up to the wall.
Well, I was going to say, I'm actually going to turn back to the kid that's behind me and say, just look forward. I'm going to yell to them. I'm going to say, look forward and go with confidence.
All right, make a charisma check.
Charisma check.
Inspire this young.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
inspire.
it could be a
Mind,
persuasion
yeah.
check if that's better than your straight charisma.
My charisma's not bad. Oops. Yeah, 17, 18.
Nice. All right, you look back and you kind of give you kind of roar across this space like, you got this. Look at
Come on!
look at me, right? Like, remember, right?
Young Minotaur!
Yeah, and it seems to help him
Yeah.
focus. He kind of takes a breath. You see the nostrils flare for a second, and he just charges.
Yeah.
Kind of lowers his head and charges like he's
Yeah.
coming at you. Yeah, and he makes it.
All right.
Not smoothly. It's a little. There are slips and falls, but he charges through and leaps off the far side. And I think he kind of comes up and gives you kind of like a bump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Atta.
All right.
Yeah. Come on, come with me. We'll go to the next. What is it? The wall.
Potom, about this time, you would have been done with your transacting.
Yes.
So if you want to come out and observe too, you would quickly see Potom sitting there.
I go sit next to Potom, the only friendly face, and
She told the Minotaur story again. I
Oh,
know,
okay.
I know it. I know she did.
She probably told him she speaks Minotaur too.
So I think all of you at this point notice, as you look back and the rest of you see, the Dishonored seems to be purposefully waiting for everybody else to go. he's just hanging back. So even when there's like a long pause and kids are not going up to the pole, he's just sort of waiting there. All right. You're now facing this wall.
Okay. Hey, young Minotaur, what's your name?
Tony.
Tony.
His name is Tony.
It's a fine Minotaur name.
Yeah.
Tony. Let's see here. Well, so you said it's about 10 feet up?
Yeah, the bottom of the rope is about 10 feet up. It's a 15-foot high wall, approximately.
Is there anywhere to grab onto the wall, or is there? It's a poorly constructed wall, I know, but
Yeah, up close you can see the wall's fairly rough. But there's not like obvious handholds. This is a flat board wall, planks, without significant gaps between them. There's been an effort made for this to be the kind of wall you can't just climb up by itself. But there's lots of ways you could maybe work around that or approach it differently. It's up to you.
Can I just walk around it?
You can do whatever you want.
Crash through.
I know, because it's not totally obvious exactly what you're supposed to do on this wall. I mean, I guess, yeah, Can I look on the other side of the wall? So peek on the other side? Yeah. What's on the other? Just a wall?
Glance around the other side of the wall, and there is basically a short set of stairs that come back to the ground. I mean, you're not like the intellectual of the team necessarily, but it
I'm
seems
not
pretty
a
obvious.
moron.
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious to you. This is a wall meant to climb over.
Be climbed.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Hey, Tony, could I give you a boost up, and maybe you could try to, I don't know.
I think Tony's
grab
down.
me. Yeah.
All right, so here's the deal. You're just going to make an athletics check to boost Tony up there. He's a child, but he's a big Minotaur child.
20.
20 is very good. All right, you kind of, not only do you lift him up, but you kind of launch him just a little bit. And so I'm going to give him advantage on his acrobatics check to try to grab this rope.
Okay.
That's pretty good, and that's much worse. But yeah, with a 15, he gets a hold of the rope, and he starts to climb. So he gets to the top of the wall very quickly, and then turns around and calls down, "Now what?"
Good question. Now, I was sort of hoping. Can Tony, how far can Tony reach over? Can you reach over, Tony? No, I guess not that far. It's 15 feet. But I'm 6 feet. I guess to the bottom of the rope, though, is not that much further for me to try to jump. I could try to jump.
You
Maybe
gotta clear at least 9 feet to the top.
Down to the top, but the rope hangs down.
Yeah, he's reaching down for you. So it's like a 6 foot gap.
Yeah, so the question that you're asking is, with Tony positioned at the top of the wall, can he reach down further than the 5 feet that the rope is hanging?
I'm thinking about 9 different things. Actually what I'm really thinking now is about how far is it if I'm going to jump to try to grab the bottom of the rope.
It's 10 feet off the ground.
It's 10 feet, and I'm 6.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And so, it's 10 feet, but it's not,
you need like a 3.5 foot vertical leap to get to that.
I wonder how high I can jump when I rage.
That's a really good question.
I wonder how hard you can just jump.
Yeah. I'm thinking, because 3.5 feet isn't too bad. I mean, I'm pretty athletic.
The maximum height a character can jump is equal to 3 plus your strength modifier.
Oh.
Feet? Oh, well, that's...
3 feet plus my strength modifier?
8
4?
feet?
Wait a second.
7 feet? That's...
I can jump 7 feet.
A high jump. Maximum height is 5.
A
5 foot vertical
That's insane.
jump?
Like, for a human, at least.
Yeah. Well, unless we're talking about a high jump where you're literally trying to throw yourself over, if that's the idea here, and you're not just standing leap.
No, I mean, because I can definitely run, get a little running jump.
So here's what I'll say. If you're gonna back up 10 feet, get a running jump, all cleaned up.
Ah.
Good. Then I'll let you make an athletics check here, and I'm gonna set the DC. I think I'm gonna set the DC at 15. You clear 15 on your athletics check. I'll say you can get one hand on that rope and grab it.
20.
20. Not
Okay, I didn't even need Tony.
not a problem. You just
but I
help,
might need Tony later on.
just help Tony out. No big deal.
Okay. But maybe Tony can kind of help me over the wall as I climb up the top. Is Tony
Sure.
there to kind of help grab my leg and pull me over?
She's trying to get over a wall.
I'm trying to get over the wall.
Yeah, I mean, you got Tony up there, and I think he hangs out to see if there's some way that he
Yeah.
can help you.
Yeah.
And he's impressed when you back up and just leap up and grab this rope and
Yeah.
start clawing your way to the top. With a 20, you don't need Tony's help. You're at the top of this wall very quickly. This was not a big... I mean, this is an obstacle course made for children. And you are a...
Minotaur children.
Minotaur
Minotaur
children,
children.
fair. But you are a battle-tested
Yeah. I used to play
warrior.
with Minotaur children.
Yeah.
We've established.
So you're over the top of that wall very quickly. When you get to the top of the wall, Tony gives you another
All
Minotaur
right.
fist
Hey,
bump
Tony.
and runs down the stairs towards the pen. The young men below you are now trying again, and there's a few others now gathered up down there, starting to try to looking at this wall, trying to figure out what they're going to do.
What about our dishonored Minotaur? Where is he?
He has still yet to even begin to attempt the greased pole. There's a few Minotaur children still on that far side who either have not even attempted it, haven't even walked up over there yet, or are still trying to make their way across. I will also say several of them have fallen into the glass.
Ooh,
Kind of
geez.
bloody.
Yeah, and gotten bloodied.
I just picture you like the adult at like a YMCA, where you're like playing basketball with like the kids.
I know.
And he tries to shoot, you just knock him ball.
Right.
He's like,
Ow.
take that.
In your face, Tony.
That's pretty good.
Like, you're playing against
no,
children.
no. I'm like the. I just want everyone to win. So okay. Well, I guess we're gonna. I'm keeping a watch on that guy back there, and
She's being tested
my
to see if she
Minotaur
can compete in
back
the
there.
arena.
Circular pen, split rail fence. Oh, we got the goat coming next.
Yeah, so up next is the goat. So
And
you're gonna
Tony
follow
and I are the
follow
first.
Tony.
Tony and I will go over to the goat here.
Yeah, you and Tony are the first to the goat. So as you approach, there is a member of the Synox standing near the pen, and she gestures to part of the fence. Draped over the fence are lengths of rope, just simple hempen rope. And she says, to advance, you must secure the goat.
Okay. And there's a goat in there.
There's a goat in there.
Is it my friend or is it one
goat.
of the other goats that really likes?
This is a different goat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not your buddy.
Not my buddy.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well.
Talk with this goat. And just
Why
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
just
was just gonna.
make
I
friends with all
was
the
gonna
goats.
just say, hey, goat. Are you
Yeah, how
working?
long does Speak with Animals last?
So it's not that long. It's 10 minutes.
It's 10 minutes.
10
So you'd
minutes.
have to recast it if you want to speak to this goat.
Could I recast it?
Yeah.
Yes, please. I'd like to recast to just talk to the goat for a second.
Sure. All right, what do you...
Oh, yeah, no.
Left.
Huh?
Or is it an
Oh
at
no,
will?
it's at will. It's an
Oh.
at will.
Oh, it's at will.
Yeah,
It's
it's
at
at
will. Great.
Yeah, it's at will.
You should be talking.
Is it at will once a day or at will what?
Oh,
Because
that's a good
it
question.
seems unlikely that you just have unlimited at will
Duration
speak
is
with
Talk to
10
all
animals.
the-
minutes. Casting time's 10 minutes to have.
It's possible, I guess, but
I don't know. It's like, talk
How-
to a barista at
Is
a
it a-
coffee shop
is
as
it
many
a-
times as you want to in a day.
How did you?
is
How
it
did
a
you get
feat?
I just have it at my first level, level one
maybe a
spell
racial
that I just have as
characteristic?
part of my
That must be a racial
path
thing.
of the totem.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Path of the Totem.
Yeah, it's the totem.
Okay, let's-
Huh.
And it does say at will. So
Weird. Maybe just talk to animals all the time.
Yeah, I can just talk to animals
What do you
whenever
even
I
talk to
want,
us
is what
about?
I
Yeah.
understood it as. But
They're probably much more interested.
Oh,
than
no,
we
it's a
are.
ritual.
Oh.
So you can, but it takes 10 minutes.
oh, I have to build it up to 10. No, we're
Because
not
you're
gonna waste
casting
10
it as a
minutes.
ritual, you have to like sit and commune and light
Okay, yeah.
your incense.
That's what
and
I was
pull
doing
out
while
your-
I was meditating, and then
Yeah.
I thought okay.
Yeah.
But this time I don't have 10 minutes to meditate.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
What does your bee sense do?
My bee sense is that I can essentially see through the beast's eyes. Oh, that would
that could
actually be very helpful in capturing. I can see through the beast's eyes for the duration of the spell. It lasts an hour, and hear what it hears, and I can gain the benefits of any special senses from that
cool.
creature.
It also takes 10 minutes.
Also takes
But
10 minutes.
and I'm also blinded and deafened to my surroundings myself. I can only see through the animal.
That is a very specific use case that is really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
not useful here.
You know, it's really interesting because now just looking at this, I should have thought about that with the big thing in the water.
Yeah, you should have broken it out.
Anyway. But yeah, I just
would've been
I'm just
That would've
getting
been
in
really
touch
cool.
with my bee
Assuming
sense.
it was a beast.
Yes.
Ooh.
Might have been a submarine.
Could have been any number of things. Um,
Okay.
All right, so I think while you're sort of pausing and thinking all the thoughts about what you could do,
Does Tony jump in there?
Tony just jumps over the fence and grabs one of these ropes and runs towards the goat. And we're gonna see how Tony does here. I'm not gonna roll for every Tony attack, but we're just gonna broadly see how well Tony does. So go ahead and roll it, Gabe. Tony got a natural 20. So Tony's feeling really good. He's pumped. He's got an ally in his corner. He feels good.
All
Feeling
right,
a lot of confidence.
Tony.
Tony's killing it.
He charges in. I think Tony just straight up lowers his head and charges this goat, and the goat reacts in kind, puts its head down and charges him, and Tony just head to head rams this 800-pound goat. And yet somehow he doesn't just get knocked out. At the last minute, he kind of twists his horns and does a forward leap and lands on the goat's back. And the goat's kind of stunned and confused for a second. Tony whips a rope around the goat's neck, pulls back, and the goat kind of goes "Ah," and falls over. And in about 3.5 seconds, Tony's got that goat hogtied and is standing over it like, yeah, let's go.
Wow,
Kind of
Tony.
looks at you like, yeah.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, Tony's feeling good. Goat wrangler. Seeing that success, the priestess from the Synok kind of gives Tony a nod. And another goat is quickly brought in while that goat is being untied.
Okay.
Cycling through goats here and just
Yeah, so the new goat that comes in after is the goat you met earlier. It's your buddy, and he still looks crabby,
Yeah.
but he's the goat on deck
Okay.
in the pen.
Well, give him a little salute and I'll climb the fence here.
Okay, very good. So you grab one of the ropes.
Grab one of the ropes, climb the fence.
So you're gonna make first. Let's roll initiative.
Initiative.
17. That's good.
9.
9.
No,
All right.
6. Sorry.
6. Okay, so Goat's going to act first, and he is going to lower his head and charge. So we're going to make a charge attack. That's a 7, which is definitely going to miss. So
It misses.
he comes pounding towards you, but he's a little distracted in his rage, and you're able to just kind of step out of the way. And so what are you going to do in response?
I am going to.
You can use the rope as an improvised weapon if you want to try to grapple him with it, or you can do whatever else you want.
Okay. So what does this goat look like? Is it like a mountain goat?
Yeah.
Is it like a farm
Yeah,
goat?
but it's like
Is
the
it
size of a bison.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So picture like a mountain
Bison.
goat,
Okay.
but magnified
Okay.
to that
okay.
size.
That sounds good. Well, so I'm
Like
going.
Goats and Thor.
Yeah.
I
Like a
think
Thor
what
goat.
what I'll do is I'm gonna rage. I
There you
think I'll rage, and then I'm going to just go in with my rope for an unarmed strike.
Okay.
this
and
poor
I-
goat.
What's that?
This poor goat.
Oh, goat! I know. I feel kind of
The
bad
goat's
for him.
probably in trouble. Yeah.
17.
That hits. Okay, so let's now make a grapple check. So you're gonna, because you're raging, you're gonna roll this at advantage, but make a strength check for me, please.
Strength check at advantage.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's,
The goat rolled an 18.
we have a 12 or a 14. 14.
Okay. So you get the rope around this goat, but he is really mad now. And again, he's easily 800 pounds. So I will say you get the rope wrapped sort of through his beautiful horns and around his head somewhat, and you try to like yank him to the ground, but he yanks back and kind of throws you across this little pen. And while you do retain hold of the rope, you are knocked prone.
Okay.
And now it is the goat's turn. He is going to attempt to kind of ram you down where you're sitting. That is a 15 to hit. Does that hit?
Yeah, I'm a 15, armor class of 15.
Okay,
yeah.
so that does hit. So you're going to take 10 points of bludgeoning damage, which is reduced to half, so 5 points of bludgeoning damage because you're raging. And now it is your turn.
Okay, well, I guess my action, I have to use my action to stand, right?
No, use
No?
half your movement to stand.
Oh, I use
So you
half
can
my
get
movement.
back up.
Oh, yeah, I'll stand back up. And what I'm going to do is, how far away am I from him?
You're like right in front of it. You're basically eye to eye with this thing once
Yeah,
you stand
see,
up, and
I
you're
just-
still holding a rope that is like
I know.
tangled up in his horns and
See,
wrapped
I
around his
don't,
head.
really don't want to hurt him. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna use my breath weapon. Actually.
Okay, you don't want to hurt him, but you're going to use your breath weapon.
I just want to
Freeze the
make
shit
him
out of him.
real cold.
You're going to make him real chill.
Because he was hot.
He was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair. All right.
I just want him to slow down.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Let's unleash your breath weapon. Your dragon breath.
Destructive energy.
2d6
Yes.
at
So
point
he's got to
blank
make
range.
a Constitution save of 12. That's a natural 20. So he'll take half damage. I mean, he is a big mountain goat
Yeah.
covered in fluffy fur. So roll your 2d6 cold damage.
Yeah, that's a 5.
Okay. So he takes 2 points of cold damage.
Okay.
And he is covered, his shaggy fur is covered in frosty snow.
At least does he go like?
Yeah, he definitely does. He's like, what is that? Very good. He is surprised by that. Do you want to remain right? Do you want to remain?
I like to use my breath weapon. I never get to use it.
That's really good. Do you want to remain right in front of him, or do you want to move?
I am going to. You know what? Could I use my movement? Could I try to jump on top of him?
Yeah. I'll allow this. I'll
I'm
allow
holding
this.
on to his horns and the thing, and I'm
Sure.
going to try to jump on top of him.
Make an athletics check.
18.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. So you breathe frosty breath all over him, and he's sort of stunned for a second, like, what the? I didn't like that.
This is new.
I kind of liked it, but I kind of didn't. And then you sort of swing your way right up onto his back. He's going to attempt to buck you off of his back. That's a very low roll. That's a 6 strength check, but I still want you to make a strength check to see if you can hang on. You need to beat a 6. You're still raging, so this will be at advantage.
1 and 1.
22.
Okay, no problem. All right, so you hang on just fine. So at this point, it's your turn. You are riding the goat, the frosty goat. You have a rope wrapped around its head and neck right now. So to basically do what Tony did and to drag this thing to the ground, I'm going to let you roll at advantage here. You're going to make a strength check at advantage, or an athletics check, I should say, at advantage,
Okay.
to basically pull the same move, to jump off him and use your weight to like take him to the ground and then hog tie him.
Okay. It's a 14 and 14.
14. That's with your athletics bonus.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if he can beat it. He tied it.
Oh,
So here's what I think happens. You yank him down, and he does go to the ground, but you're not able to get the ropes around his little feet and get him tied up. So he's on his back, and you're next to him. So we're going to make one more contested roll here. He's going to make an acrobatics check to try to get back up, and you're going to make either a sleight of hand or an acrobatics check to get the ropes around him.
I'm going to do a sleight of hand. Oh, 1.
Oh no. Okay, well, it's not.
I failed.
Yeah, it's not good. So he kind of and rolls over away from you, and then gets back up on his feet, and yeah, you're kind of back where you started here. So he's gonna charge you again.
Okay.
But he,
Here we
with
go
a
again.
12, I think misses
No,
you.
he does miss with a 12.
And it is your turn. You try to grapple him again.
Yeah, I'm gonna unarmed strike him again.
Okay.
See if we can.
To try to get the rope around him, or to
get
just
the-
like punch him in the head.
No. I'm
Stay
gonna
still.
unarmed strike with trying to get that rope
All
around
right,
him.
we're trying to get him grappled. All right, make your unarmed strike.
Oh, good. 22.
Okay, that hits. So he's tangled up in the rope again. Now, one more time here, let's make a contested strength roll. You're still raging, so roll this at advantage.
Oops.
You got a 6 this time,
Oh,
so if you can beat a
Hopefully
6.
at advantage with my +4 modifier,
really
I
hope.
should.
I really hope so.
Oh, 24. Natty 20 plus a 4.
Then
Well, that
no
works.
need to roll again.
20
Yeah, you
or
got
a
it.
22.
So I think at this point you're just fed up and a
Yeah,
little
come
embarrassed, and you're like, no more. And you just grab this goat by the horns and kind of look him in the eye like,
This is
We're
happening.
doing
we
this.
talked.
Yes,
You
we're doing this.
Slam him down, whip the rope around him,
Yeah.
and you stand up victorious.
Yeah.
The member of the Synod gives you the nod,
Okay.
and you step out of the arena. A new goat is brought in.
What's my guy doing back there? My Minotaur.
Tony?
Well, no, my
Oh, the
yeah,
Dishonored.
Yeah, the Dishonored.
So at this point, all the youth have either failed at the greased pole or have moved on and are working on the wall. As you look back, you do see that the Dishonored is now charging towards the greased pole. He has basically waited for everybody to get clear, but now he's running. And
Does he make it?
he
And
does.
now the show begins.
Yeah. And he clears it just fine. And when he gets down on the far side, there's about I think 6 or 7 Minotaurs still ahead of him trying to figure out this wall. He just sits on the ground right after the pole and starts to meditate.
Okay.
Remaining in front of you is this circle in the sand, and a member of the Synox standing in the middle. And Tony is there already and is standing outside the circle and is looking a little nervously at you as you approach. When you get to the circle, the Synoc priestess in the middle says, to advance, you must throw your opponent outside the circle. Step outside the circle and fail the test. And at that point, she looks at Tony and looks at you and nods at both, and she steps out of the circle, and you and Tony step in.
Oh, your friend Tony.
I know. All right.
Today's the day you crush this child's dreams.
I know.
Shut it down.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of circle for a minute. I'm going to look at him and see what he's going to do.
Okay.
Taking a little.
Let's roll for initiative quick.
Better hope he doesn't cry.
Thing. Oops. Come on. 13.
Okay. Tony has a 14, so he's going to go first. Tony's looking a little nervous. But he
Gets over it.
gets over it. He takes a deep breath. It's a similar moment to the greased pole, and even though you were the one who got him there, he's there now, and he's feeling confident. He handled a goat. He's going to handle you. And he puts his head down and he charges towards you just like the goat did. And he's going to make a charge attack. That is... Sorry, what's Tony's? Tony's going to be at a +3. So that's a 14 to hit. Did that hit you?
No,
That
15.
misses.
Air asks Podum if he'd give her some odds on who would win.
Taking bets, side bets?
I was definitely on Freya.
Freya?
Yeah.
Like
I'll give you 10 to 1 on Freya.
10 to 1. Okay. Air takes that bet, and
Alright.
and
How much?
10 to 1 for
What's
Freya.
the stakes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Freya. I mean,
What?
Freya for the win.
Right. Yeah, and 1 gold piece.
All right.
You got 1 gold piece on Tony.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, 10 to 1's good odds.
Yeah, it is good odds.
All right,
Okay.
it's your move.
All right.
Tony just charged at you and missed.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go for an unarmed strike on Tony.
Okay. What's
Oh, I'm
the
gonna rage.
objective here?
The objective is to I'd like to incapacitate him sufficiently that I can push him out, grab him. And throw
All
him
right,
out.
so your goal is just to knock Tony out
I
and
just
then
wanna
throw
knock
his
Tony.
unconscious body out of the circle.
No, I'm gonna kind of knock him, hopefully close to the thing, close to the edge, and like try to.
What I'm
just
trying to understand is this like you're trying to use his momentum and judo him out of the circle, or you're just like, I'm gonna full stop punch Tony in the
no,
in the
I like
noggin.
that. I like the judo
And my
move
breath
better.
weapon.
I did too.
And my breath. Also wear those javelins.
Yeah. I know. I'm not gonna use my javelins.
All right, very good. So make let's say I'm gonna say make an unarmed strike
Hmm.
to see if you can even get your hands on Tony first.
No, I can't. It's an 8.
No, okay, yeah. So while Tony does fail to connect with his charge, he does. The only way you avoid his horns is by jumping out of the way, and you're not
Okay.
able then
To grab him
get a
or
hold of
to
him.
like keep pushing him.
Yeah, and he sort of tucks and rolls and turns, and then he comes back at you with a fist, and he's going to clock you in the jaw.
Alright.
But that is only a 9, so he misses. Swings a wild haymaker and just misses.
Swings a wild haymaker, and while he is wildly swinging in that momentum, I'm gonna try to grab him and toss him out of the ring again.
All right, you're grabbing for his arm. Make an unarmed strike to
Yeah.
grab Tony's arm.
14.
14 is enough to grab
Okay.
Tony. So
Air
now
shakes
you're
her head.
going to make a contested strength check. You are raging, so you get advantage on your athletics check here. Tony
Yeah.
is coming in with a strong 12 here.
I got a 23.
Okay.
And a 14.
So I think with this happens really fast. Tony swings wildly. You grab his arm with both hands, and now at this point you're pretty worked up, and you just go, "Ah!" and you launch him. Now Tony's a big guy, but he's not a goat.
Right.
And you launch him a good 10 feet.
Okay.
Not a single part of his body lands inside the circle.
Oh, okay.
All of Tony lands outside the circle.
Tony, I'm sorry. I wanted you to win too.
Yeah.
Air hands over her gold piece.
10 gold pieces.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around, where I would get 10 if you won.
Yeah, if Tony would have won, I would have given you 10. But Freya won, so you owe me 10.
No, it's 10 to 1.
No, it's 10 to 1, so I pay
He
1.
loses his 1.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I like the idea that Potham does not understand odds.
But he just takes the one and puts it in his pocket.
He's like, okay.
Okay.
Okay. With that, your test is over, and the priestess from the Synod directs you to the side where there are some benches and some water, and you're able to just sort of sit and watch. Tony looks dejected, and after he gets up and kind of dusts himself off, he walks over to you, over by the bench, and his face is kind of cloudy and angry, but when he gets to you, he bows and then just walks away.
I
quietly.
stand up and offer my arm.
Okay.
Grab his arm.
All right. Yeah, he takes it.
Mhm.
He takes it. He's again, he's angry, but he's working through it. And he walks away into the tunnel. As you look back, the rest of the group has been winnowed down a little bit. So there were 2 Minotaur youths that it looked like fell into the broken glass and decided they couldn't continue, and they have been they've already left. There's a couple that are really struggling at the wall, 2 in particular that but they haven't quit. They are still trying to make it. The Dishonored is still just sitting there, patiently waiting for them to either quit or make it. There's a small queue over by the goats, and the wrestling continues, and then you watch a couple matches in the circle. Some of them are closely matched, some of them don't last long at all. And the dejected youths who fail all head into the tunnel, have various reactions. Some of them pitch a fit, yelling at their opponent. Some of them just sort of mope their way out of the stadium. A couple respond more like Tony and kind of bow to their competitor and that kind of thing. It takes about another 20 minutes or so before a lot of them have kind of caught up. One of the youths at the wall gives up and storms out. The other does eventually turn back to the Dishonored and approach him. And when this happens, at first the Dishonored does not react. But after a moment, you can't hear the conversation, he stands and walks with the youth back to the wall, at which point he launches him up. And this guy's got some strength, you can tell. He's sort of...
Doesn't even have to grab the rope. He just kind of grabs the top of the wall.
Yeah, and the kid grabs the edge and pulls himself up and runs on. And about 3 seconds after he does that, the Dishonored just standing leaps and grabs the rope and is up and down and then is meditating by the goat pen. By the time this is all said and done,
Bottom would like to reach over to just kind of lean over to the teacher and be like, "What's that guy's story?"
The teacher says, I can't speak to that one story specifically, but he is without honor. The fact that he chooses the path to redemption is appropriate. But I have not seen this one before or heard of his story.
Bottom leans over the teacher and goes to the next teacher over, "What's that one's story?"
Make an investigation check. If Bottom's gonna walk around and really
interviewing,
push to see who knows what's up with this guy.
22.
Just shouting.
That guy's good. What's up with him?
Anyone know?
Just the Lord Dave. Okay. Well, let me make up that guy's story. Then, Alex, let me just
I
tell
thought there was something there.
I definitely thought there was something.
Let me just tell you. Sometimes a big dark thing in the water is just a big dark thing in the water. All right.
We seem to have been really focused on this guy most of the session. He's sitting back.
You do learn something about this guy. So while you don't get deep backstory on him, because most of the people you talk to do not want to be associated at all with the Dishonored, someone who does tell you a little something is one of the gnolls, actually, who was up trying to get paid. And what you learn is that this Minotaur, whose name he does not know, but he does know the story because it's sort of local legend among the people who get paid in the arena, is this guy made it to the 4th level in the arena and was on deck to take on a champion. But in the weeks leading up to his championship match, where he was meant to be facing a Minotaur named Logra Fen, who is one of the more recent champions. It was discovered that he was essentially using performance enhancing drugs, but like
He was doping.
but of a magical. He was getting magically augmented. He had purchased basically enchantments from an imperial wizard that would have helped guarantee his victory, basically. So he chose a dishonorable path, and since that time, this was 6 months ago, this Knoll tells you this guy has been coming back here every week, going through the test. this test over
He's
and
really
over
surprised
and
that
over
that
again.
first teacher didn't know anything about him.
Or just didn't want it.
She's from the hinterlands.
Yeah. Well, and I think you get varying responses, right? Like that first teacher probably just, it seemed like just really didn't know. Other people just didn't want to talk about the Dishonored. So it wasn't until you got outside of Minotaurs and struck up with a knoll that he was like, oh yeah, this guy blew it big time, and now he's back here every week trying to get back in.
So he's back here, but he can't pass the little kids test?
It seems, from this Knoll's perspective, it seems less about that he can't pass and more like the Synok hasn't decided to let him pass yet.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So he comes in, he does all the things. As you can see, he's crushing every test in a heartbeat. But for whatever reason, they haven't decided to pass him. All right, let's fast forward just a little bit. Things wrap up the way that you sort of expect. Some of the younglings do well, some don't. This Dishonored makes his way through all of the tests with ease, with no difficulty. In the final test, however, no one will enter the ring with him. So there are younglings left, but they all avoid him until there is no one left to match up against him.
I'm going to go over there. I'll
Okay.
go over. Not
All
for
right.
myself. Probably going to get thrown out of the ring.
So the Synok does not see you coming. Do you step into the ring, or do you wait outside the ring?
I step up to the side of the ring and I say, "Am I allowed?" To the Synok. Will you allow me to step in the ring again?
She turns back to you and says, "You have already passed."
But somebody needs a challenger.
I see no one.
Well, maybe I'll just step into the ring.
Okay.
Okay.
When you step into the ring, you see a look on this Dishonored Minotaur's face that it's the first time you've seen an expression on his face. And it is one of sort of a combination of shock and deep relief. And he steps forward into the ring as well. The Synok priestess also looks shocked and a little dismayed, but then bows her head and steps out of the ring. And immediately this Minotaur is at you. Roll initiative.
Air leans forward and is like 10 to 1 the other way. 10 to 1 the other way for the Dishonored one.
Sure.
I
Bottom throws out his one.
That one gold goes
piece.
right back into the pot. I like it.
I 17.
17. All right. Well, you react faster than him, so you're up first. What are you going to do?
I am going to. I'm actually going
Do you have any
to
rages left?
I do have a rage left.
Okay.
So I'm going to rage, and I'm going to set my. Let's see. I'm going to set my shield down. So I'm going to take my two-handed weapon. So I'm going to put my shield back, which I think I always forget how to do this. Shield.
Maybe this will be like
Click
a
my shield.
subplot of Aaron Potham just having like these side bets.
Just side bet on everything.
I like it.
Mid battle.
Inventory. There we go.
What
What do you
odds
think?
would-
10 to 1 Pando goes down against that ogre.
Where is my? Okay, my shield's off, which puts me at a disadvantage here for a moment. But so my first action will be, I'm gonna put my shield down, and I'm going to just put my shield down. Then I'm going to attack with my greatsword.
Okay. Very good. Roll to attack.
19.
That hits. Roll your damage. Let me ask you this. Are you going full on going to kill, or are you trying to do non-lethal
No,
damage?
I'm trying to do non-lethal. I definitely do not want to kill him, but
Okay.
but I realize that he can probably take a lot.
Sure. Well, so remember, you can say non-lethal damage anytime, and you
Okay.
can just be smacking somebody with the flat of your blade or trying to knock them unconscious. You're a skilled warrior, you can do that.
Yeah.
stuff.
No.
All right. How much damage did you do?
16.
Okay. Very good. All right, so you just thwack, bring up, like you can hear the clap from across the arena as the flat of your greatsword slams into his chest, and you see him kind of stagger back a little bit. And this is the second time you see an expression on his face because he grins.
Crap. Can I, am I allowed at that time then to put my greatsword back and my shield back up? No, I gotta leave my shield down for this.
Once
Yeah,
per
that's
turn.
alright, that's fine.
He is unarmed, but he lifts both of his fists over his head like this and brings them down on your shoulders like clubs.
Ow.
He rolled a 24 to hit.
Jesus. Okay.
Air smiles.
And
Wouldn't have mattered if I'd picked my shield back up or not.
you are going to take 14 points of bludgeoning damage, reduced to 7 because you're raging.
Okay.
And then he is going to attack a second time. That's a natural 20.
Jesus.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. That's 33 points of bludgeoning damage, reduced to 16, right?
Okay.
16.
How come
And I
get
think
to
this
attack
one
again?
is, once he pounds his fist down on your shoulders, he grabs your shoulders and he just headbutts you
Oh, jeez.
as hard as he can. So his big, strong Minotaur forehead bashes you, and it bloodies you good and knocks you back a couple steps.
Yeah, now I'm getting pissed off. I didn't like it.
Yeah, he's having fun.
Yeah, okay, well.
It's your turn.
All right, fine. We're going with the great axe. We're not going to bother with picking up the. We're going with the great axe, and we're just going for it with the great axe.
Okay, we're not
I'm
lethal
pissed.
anymore. No,
Oh,
pissed.
no, it's just murder time.
Oh, that's just.
I'm
Okay.
gonna try to murder him with my
Oh,
great
yeah.
axe.
All
Okay.
right.
Took a turn.
Well, now it's getting interesting.
All right, roll your attack.
All right. 21.
21 hits. Do your damage.
14.
14's good damage.
It's a lot of
I
damage.
wanted more.
Well, you
'Cause I
didn't.
had a
He
plus
crit
one.
against you, is why he did such huge damage. Plus, he gets 2 attacks a turn. All right.
He gets
Um,
2 attacks. Why does he get 2 attacks a turn? Bottom, I'm like, Bottom! I think I'm gonna need you! Do you
Bottom just is like,
no, Bottom, I'm going down in a few. Can you get down here with a potion?
Well, it'd be unethical for you to intervene now because.
Yeah,
it's
no.
fine.
I'm just saying, be on alert, okay?
All
you
right.
got yourself into this mess. Now I need you to win, or you owe me some money.
All right, he's gonna attack twice. That is a 13 to hit. Which
That does not.
misses.
No, it hits. It
Yeah.
does.
oh, a
'cause I-
13 hits.
Yeah, I didn't.
Because you put your shield.
Yeah.
Right, okay. That is 19 points of bludgeoning
I'm
damage,
down.
reduced
I'm
to
9.
reduced to 9.
Yeah, so I'm at 0.
Okay. So I think at this point he just kind of reels back and slams into you with his arms, and you just go staggering back out of the circle.
Okay.
And fall down on the ground. You're unconscious for, you think, a very short period of time before you awake with the Synox fingertips on your chest as you feel kind of a warm rush of healing magic flow through you, and you regain 15 hit points.
Okay.
So you're able to come back to consciousness.
Air takes the gold, pockets it, little tip of the cap. Pleasure doing business with you.
Well, he just won his 1 gold
yeah,
piece
yeah,
back,
yeah.
right?
Air just got
Okay.
the we just passed a gold piece back and forth.
Yeah.
That was it.
As you come to, you're still sort of laying on the ground, maybe kind of get up to your elbows, and you see the Synok stand up and turn and face the dishonored, and you just hear her say this: "I see you." And then she spins on her heel and walks out of the arena. The Minotaur that just rocked your world collapses to his knees, and he seems overcome with emotion. And a short time later, he kind of shakes it off and stands up, gives you a look and just sort of says, "You all right?"
Well, I've had worse.
Not often, I'll bet.
Well, yeah, at least you're not a mage.
I hear that. I'll see you in the arena.
See you in the arena.
And then
I look forward to the honor.
and then he walks out of the tunnel. As you walk out of the tunnel, you are greeted by a few things. So, first thing that you see is at the end of the tunnel, the administrator, Administrator Omari, is waiting there, and she is holding some. They look like woven bracelets, basically, but each one has a copper coin attached to it that has a mark with sort of a stylized axe, which you've seen. And this is this symbol of passing the test, basically. And so as every one of these Minotaur youths is walking past, she is handing them to the ones that passed the test. And the first thing you notice is that Tony has one on his wrist, even though you threw him out of the circle. Some others who successfully threw people out of the circle do not have them.
I'm like, fist bump Tony!
And as you approach, she waves to you and hands one of these to you. And you see the dishonored also receives one and walks out. He does not stay to chat, just walks out of the arena and moves on. But Administrator Omari does turn to you as you depart and say, "You are no youngling, and should you wish to engage in a match tomorrow, we would welcome you to the challenge to begin your walk. If so, be here at sunrise, and I will find a worthy opponent for you."
Okay. I'll be here at sunrise.
Let's pause for a quick break here. All right. So, as you all kind of gather back together, you have the evening yet ahead of you. You are not due back to the arena until sunrise the next day. So, is there anything else that you would like to do, or anything you want to talk about together or accomplish this evening?
Where do the champions go and drink?
Good question. Well, I think asking around a little bit, you would discover, first of all, that there are very few true champions, and those champions are usually holding positions of significant authority or influence,
Sure.
or are doing or have undertaken some very important task or project or quest. But
I think that's what
arena
Potham's really
fighters.
looking. Yeah, Potham's looking for the place to go before where everybody goes and parties before going
you
to
go.
the.
Got it. Yeah, I think there's a few places that
Pre-game the
attract
arena.
that kind of crowd, like the night before. I mean, the bigger party is on arena night, right? So like after the fights,
Sure.
then everybody's out celebrating. But there's some places that are into this. And so I would say Bucky's, where you are staying, is one of or where you stayed last night. You don't necessarily have to stay there again tonight. Is one of those places. So you would find some locals there who are into going to watch the matches. Because it's mostly a Minotaur joint, maybe even some other people who are planning to fight would be there. It's hard to know until you like hang out or maybe chat up the innkeeper if you go back there. There are a couple other places in town where you'd be more likely to party with spectators. So like some of the slightly higher end merchant establishments, a lot of folks from out of town like to come watch these things. They understand it differently than the Minotaurs do. For them, it's a little more about entertainment, but it's not an insignificant source of revenue for the city. And since I think you would uncover pretty quickly through conversation that since Imperial rule, the arena combat has been commercialized a little more than it used to be. So
selling souvenirs.
Yeah. Well, like the seating has definitely expanded. The Empire takes a cut, like the Imperial mayor takes a cut of ticket sales. Minotaurs come to watch because this is part of their religion, basically.
There's brand endorsements.
Well, I was just going to say, Potom, I might need your help with this, kind of on the side. What kind of advantage do you think I have if I kind of start to make a reputation for myself? Or should I try to slide under the radar? Should I be a Freya of the people? I do like to be a Freya of the people.
I guess I just question how long this walk is going to take. Usually people don't come to religion overnight.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not going to do all 4 of my tests tomorrow or anything like that. It's going to take a while. But maybe I do my first one, but then if we have to go out and do some stuff, I can come back, right?
Right. What? I mean, you're free to do whatever you would like.
No, I know.
But
no, I'm hanging with you guys. We got stuff to do.
We got stuff to do.
Potom. I don't know.
Multi-class into monk or something.
I mean, there's the ways of D&D are many and winding.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows what happens? So if you're gonna go if you want to go hang out with people who are thinking about Arena Day tomorrow, you basically have 2 paths here. You can try to go hang out with people that you think might be actually fighting in the arena, or who are looking at this as more on the Oshira side of things, more of the honor path side of things, in which case you probably just go back to Bucky's and hang out with locals, or you can head to one of the kind of higher end merchant class establishments and try to mix and mingle with some of the folks who are likely to be in the stands tomorrow.
I would like to go and I would imagine the people that are going to be in the stands is where the betting on the people in the arena is happening.
I'd also like to see if there's any Dragonborn that have traveled into town.
Okay. All right, excellent. So it doesn't take you too long to find a few of these other establishments. You can basically choose between quite high end and sort of modest merchant class for where you want to be, and you'll need to decide on a place to stay tonight too.
I think we're moderate. We're not aristocracy.
Yeah, no, definitely modest.
For yourself.
Oh, sorry.
You are with
my
the princess,
mistake.
and actually, I was thinking I would like to go into the higher.
Oh, my mistake.
I would like to go into the higher end and at least just check it out, see what's going on there, who is possibly in that room.
Before we do that,
I feel like at this point, like Air and Potom are like, "Yes, Your Highness."
Yeah. Passive aggressive.
How could we have forgotten?
Oh, right.
I speak Minotaur.
I told you the story.
I speak. Did I ever tell you the story?
Did I ever tell you the story of how I speak Minotaur?
I like that a lot. Before you go party, I think you probably would want to secure lodging first. So do you want to pay again for your rooms at Bucky's, or do you want to stay at one of these other places?
Oh, let's stay at Bucky's because we don't know where Pando is, so that's where she's coming back to.
Oh yeah, sure.
So yeah.
Good. So somebody just has to re-up the 1 gold piece that you dropped
I'll
for
do that.
your rooms.
I was
gonna say Air's got 1 gold.
Air's using
I mean,
that
the gold piece I
piece.
started with.
That's
Okay.
pretty good.
Yeah, but we know you got it. Oh, you got it.
I paid it.
Air. Okay, I was gonna say American paid.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yes, Your Highness.
Yeah, well, I was the one headbutted by a Minotaur today, so we'll I'll been
Speaking
dressed down.
of Air,
Mm-hmm. Oh no, this never goes in a good direction.
yeah, I forgot we left a thread hanging there for a while. Well, no.
No,
No,
okay.
we closed that little loop. You got your punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now that you're back on the mainland,
Yes.
there's a similar feeling you have to the last time you were on the mainland, but here is not as strong
Okay. Yeah.
as it was in Salt March Landing, and nowhere near as strong. It was even stronger when you were at the Rebel outpost.
Okay.
But you're feeling it again. It's noticeable compared to Chukip.
Yeah, I envision
But
it
not
as
as
if it's like a very faint magnetic.
Yeah,
of like
a little bit of that.
not that it would like move or anything,
Mm-mm.
but if you were holding it, it would almost feel like it was being pulled in.
Yeah.
That's how I envision it, but you
Yeah.
can tell me I'm wrong.
No, that works for me. It's not directional like the tracking device
No.
by any means, but whatever this connection is, it's a lot stronger on the mainland than it was in Chukip, and it's a little less strong here than it was north.
Yeah, I envisioned it as just like not like pinpoint in any way, but just like pulling further.
Yeah.
T-
I think
into
you're
the main-
vaguely like over there.
Yeah.
It's kind of
It's more like a cardinal directions at best.
Yeah. Okay. So you've resecured your rooms, and you head to pretty much the nicest tavern and inn in town. It's not a big place. This is let's see.
I cleaned the blood off of my face before we go too.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, I would say you probably have short rested. You could burn all your hit dice if you want, or maybe
When it,
clean up a little bit.
when Air's by herself for a moment, she like tries to curtsy for a second and then just quickly dismisses that idea. And is like, no, I can't. This doesn't feel right.
not the scaly one.
All right, so you find yourselves on direction from a few people around, heading to an establishment called Trancy's Festival House. And Trancy's Festival House is it is a place that has high-end accommodations, probably 6 rooms, but those 6 rooms take up the entire second floor of the establishment. And the lower floor is a restaurant and the equivalent of a cocktail lounge. What you should picture in your head is the fantasy equivalent of like a Hilton hotel bar, right? So not
not the height of sophistication.
no, I mean we're not in the big city here.
But they have some nice high-end liquors.
Yeah, they do, and there's some cocktail tables and there's some servers going around, and they definitely have a kitchen that has more than meal. Tonight's meal
generic
is
food.
whatever. Like they have a few options that you can choose from. But the most noticeable thing is that Trancy's Festival House is built to more elven size standards. So this is a place that is specifically catering to the merchant crowd. You see a lot of tabaxi here, a good sized population of elves, actually very few minotaurs, except for the proprietor and 2 heavily armed guards who are posted at the front door, bouncers, essentially. Primarily tabaxi staff and an elven host at the front greeting people as they come in. Now, as you approach, you make a bit of an impression, and I think the initial reaction of the host is just slight hesitation about whether you're in the right place. And so while their words say, "Welcome to Trancy's Festival House," their eyes say, "You better have money."
Fair enough.
I just stare him down.
Okay, make an intimidation check.
11. It's with my +3.
Okay. There's a long, drawn-out pause while he returns your stare. And then he looks at the two of you and sort of glances at the two bouncers. And he says, do you have a reservation?
Oh man, see, this is where Erin needs to step up here. She has
Yeah, I know.
very high persuasion. What did she say? Is the question?
Just as Pop's about to be like, no! Garrett, like, cabbage grabs his face and just...
See, this is where like I fail air as a D&D player. I don't do her justice.
Make an insight check first.
Oh, there we go. Whew, thanks. The DM is saving me.
Let's make an insight check.
Can I assist with his insight check?
It's a nat 20.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
You may not.
He doesn't need it.
It is immediately... You've dealt with pompous dudes like this before, back in Shakip. Not as extensively, but you recognize very clearly the nuance here. And the nuance is... This is the line he pulls out when he thinks he needs to turn someone away for the establishment. There's no such thing as reservations at Trancy's Festival House. He's for sure setting up the bouncer, trying to
lay the groundwork.
Yeah.
Well, does Air tries to maybe flamboyantly make visible her large sack of gold that she's been carrying around.
Okay.
And it's just said, no, I'm sorry, not. Maybe she just like her cloak billows out.
Sure.
But I'm sure that it's got to be some space.
Why don't you make a performance check for me?
Okay.
You're gonna put on a little scene of vapid rich person.
13.
I mean, that's enough. It's not. It's not.
He wants the money.
It's not an Emmy award-winning performance, let's say, but.
He still thinks we're not worth it, but he sees we have money, so he'll take it.
You do manage to jingle the pouch successfully.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Jingle the pouch. And I think shortly afterwards he goes, well, I may be able to find you seats at the bar. Please, follow me. And you enter what is again, relatively speaking, it's not lavish like some of the noble estates that you'd seen. But this is nice for Nantong for sure. There are leather chairs and booths. There's 2 fireplaces. There's a bard actually doing a little lute strumming in the back.
Live music.
And a couple of tabaxi servers wandering around.
We deserve this.
Yeah, it's fairly plush.
Is the bard like singing about the day's events, about how this dragonborn through this small child?
It's the tragic tale of Tiny Tony.
Tragic tale of Tiny.
Every time the song is sung, that it's just he gets smaller and smaller.
He gets smaller, weaker and weaker.
Tiny Tony.
He's
Poor
crippled.
Fragile Tony.
He was a Minotaur child the size of a rock gnome.
Yeah.
Missing 2 limbs.
Yeah.
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Tiny Tony, the
only
quadriplegic
reason
rock
that
gnome.
the only reason that he was there because he was part of a Make-A-Wish program. He just wanted to compete. Yeah. He wanted to compete. This Dragonborn came and just shut him down.
In this world, it's called Cast-A-Wish.
Yeah,
Cast-A-Wish.
Oh yeah.
Cast-A-Wish.
So you make your way. He escorts you over to. It is seating in the bar, but it's actually like a small booth.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. And you settle in and get comfortable. It's not a big space, but it's actually fairly busy for that. There's a few people having dinner, and quite a few people cocktailing at this hour, and there's a buzz in the room of conversation. So what's up?
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, I'll follow you here.
Check around. See anything bottom you like?
Well, I'm sure that there's wagers going on here, but they're probably high stakes wagers.
Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you were only going for the wager.
We don't have the biggest bankroll. For
sure.
You don't know what I have.
Well, and it's good as players. It's good to remember that there's a concept in D&D known as adventurer rich, and normal people don't usually run with adventurer money.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. And
So like
we keep all like our money pretty liquid and
yeah, like a commoner makes like a gold piece in 6 months of labor, right? They don't throw gold pieces around a lot.
wow, we look like assholes at the
They don't bet against their friends for a gold piece.
Right. Now, you know, there's different layers here, right? So
Yeah.
like a commoner is like
Right.
out in the boonies, serfdom style, right, working the land. But people in town here, like a merchant, you know, 50 gold that you'll get paid for this combat, for example, 50 gold's a lot of money. Depending if you're like a wealthy merchant or if you're, who was your wagon riding buddy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually,
Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
Marks.
Marks.
No.
Yeah, Marks. Good pull. You know, Marks was not charging you. I don't think wasn't. I don't think.
I don't think he
Charging
charges
us like
I think he charges
300.
what's
No,
up?
it was
Yeah.
very modest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, anyway.
well, but here's the thing.
but you can
know?
buy an auroch for 30 gold pieces.
That's true. But here's the thing. So, you know, maybe.
Make a high make a high mark wager on you.
Is this gonna
Or
be like
don't make the wager, take wages. Yeah.
Are we gonna throw a match? Is that
Oh,
we're gonna
great.
fix a?
No, I'm
Fix a
not
match.
doing that. No, it's not an honor thing. But
So you want me to be the house?
we already established you don't know how to
I
gamble.
don't know how to do that.
But you have a massive credit line apparently.
Yes. Hey, I'm just saying. If that's what you're looking to do.
I mean, if you want to kind of get a look at the room
Right. Yeah.
and get a sense of what's going on in here,
I would like that.
you're welcome to do that.
Make an insight check
Why don't you make?
or investigation.
I think investigation is probably right because there's probably involves chatting some people up, asking the right questions.
20.
Sure. 20.
20's good. All right.
He's got a +7 to his investigation. So
That's very good.
That's true.
he can find the info.
So I would guess that this comes off as this happens in a very Potham way. Like I'm picturing Potham just at some point hops out of the booth and maybe you all were having a conversation and he just is done having that conversation and he just hops out of the booth and starts walking around and talking to people. Specifically about what he wants to know.
He's
And when
the
you're
child
taking
in the
bets.
restaurant that just shows up at your table.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Or like Oscar would hold
Yeah.
the door for people at Pizza Man, that heavy door.
Yeah.
He'd hold pizza and people would give him $1. This guy gave him $1 one time, so then he was holding his dollar and he'd hold the door for people.
Now he just has the expectation of.
No, then they were just like
Yeah,
people
he's
were
got the
dipping.
dollar
He's got
in his hand. He's
dollars.
like,
He's
it's a
holding
dollar
them.
to get in.
I know.
That's a cover charge.
Tonight, Pizza Man's $1.
That's when he was like this tall.
I like that.
Five years old. Anyway.
So I would say you chat up a couple people sitting on their bar stools. You're about as tall as their bar stools, and you just have some conversations. And you very quickly find out that yes, people do bet on the arena matches. However, it's considered the locals consider it very gauche to bet
taste.
on arena matches
Yeah.
in the arena itself.
Oh, but right outside the arena.
Well, so it's
So we are getting frowned at.
Yeah,
as we're
probably.
passing gold back and forth.
it is uncommon to find minotaurs who would bet on this because again, this is a big part of their. It's more about their belief system. Those fights are about honor. But for the elves and for the folks from out of town, this is entertainment, and there's an active marketplace here for placing bets. What you learn is if you want to place low stakes bets, there's plenty of people starting as early as about 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow who will be hanging out outside the arena. There's bookies who just hang out and just take kind of shadow bets. The people in this room consider that to be not the way to do it. But there are basically two camps in this room. There are your very high tier betting folks who you get the sense that for anything less than 100 gold pieces, you're not welcome to play. But there are some of those folks in here. But what they tend to be betting on are the matches they already know are happening. So they're betting on tier 3 and 4 matches that have sort of been anticipated, right? The players are known. What's not known is the challenge that they'll face. So there are, at any given time, right now you get the sense, there are 3 or 4 competitors that are slated to have a level 3 match tomorrow. And there's one that's scheduled to have a level 4 match tomorrow. And so there's some betting going on about whether any of those folks will succeed or fail. The other camp is more modest in their bets, and those are more like, let's call them working class merchants, right? Sure. They're not elite, but they've got some money, and their bets are ranging from 20 to 50 gold pieces probably. Some of them are betting on those higher level matches, but some of them are basically pooling up their resources and planning to go as a group tomorrow, and once they see the slate, kind of spread that around on different bets, or maybe even prop bets or things like that. There's some of these people who are like
some derivative, some financial.
Yeah, well, they're the people who are like on they're doing like multi-part. Yeah, that's what they're in, and these people are like, they think it's a science and they've got it figured out. They're like, oh, you gotta bet on this guy but not this guy, and these 3 to win, and that'll, and then we get these odds, and blah blah blah. And so it's very intellectual.
Sure.
In this group, so you can kind of try to approach either or both or neither, but those are kind of the two groups of betting related conversation you hear in the room.
It would be fun to go and just kind of see what the working class bets are on the Dragonborn that performed today.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Make a charisma check. Let's just see how much these guys want to chat with you.
10.
All right. So you're not dismissed, but this is pretty average. They're like, oh, okay. They're curious about you, first of all, Rock Gnome.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's question about whether you are really in this or whether you really get it. But you do hear there's nope.
Let me make that clear.
But you do very quickly hear some sort of dark horse interest in this Dragonborn, because it's been a long time since anyone's seen a Dragonborn fight in the arena. It's not unheard of, but it's certainly not common, and particularly it's not common on the honor path. Dragonborn sometimes come and fight for money, but anytime an outsider chooses the honor path,
it's notable.
It's notable. And particularly, she's getting some interest because of her confrontation with the Dishonored.
Sure.
Because while there weren't a lot of people in the audience, the people who saw that fight were like, oh, she took some punches. Like, she took some hits and held up. So the going mindset right now is that she's probably going to fly through level 1. That's the
I thought that level 1 was today, and level 2.
That was a testing.
This was testing just to even be allowed to
I got you. The
participate.
pre-qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So right now she's favored to succeed at level 1. Most of the bets are, I would say, it's like a 3-to-1 odds kind of situation. If you bet 3 gold on Freya to win, you can win a gold piece.
Mm-hmm. I want to hear about the other. Oh, I can let this go.
Yeah. Oh well, and then also it would be fun to hear about what's being said about the Dishonored.
Yeah. So in this room, all the talk about the Dishonored is that nobody's even betting because he's seen as such a lock. Nobody will take bets against him. everybody in here knows that this guy competed at level 4.
Oh,
successfully.
He's a known quantity.
He's a known quantity. They're like,
oh, so he got all the way up to level 4 without taking drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
It was only when he was waiting for his champion to face a champion
top of the top,
that he broke under the pressure or whatever the story is out there, and started looking for ways
Barry
to
Bonds.
guarantee his victory. By the way, you do learn that his name is Stendar.
Stendar. That's a cool name.
Stendar.
Yeah.
Are there any other notable characters that are competing the next day?
Um,
Only if you've prepared. I don't.
I would say there's a number of folks that are again known quantities. So there are some. They're jokingly referred to as lifers, right? Folks who this is what they do. They are here all the time, but they don't seem to advance, right? They're stuck at a level and they don't seem to be able to get any further. They've got jobs outside of this. They do other things, but they keep coming back and they keep just being stuck there. And so there's interesting prop bets. You can do some pretty creative prop bets. Like there's a lifer bet where you can bet that not a single lifer will advance, or where you can take a really long flyer and bet on a single lifer who's got really long odds. It's like betting at the beginning of the season that the Jacksonville Jaguars will win the Super Bowl, and everybody's like, well, that's an obviously bad bet, so we'll give you 1,000 to 1 on that. So there's some of that kind of stuff. The only other, I would say, interesting character in these like lower levels is someone who recently failed at a level 3 match, but it was so close that people really believe that
They could have,
could have easily won. So the story goes basically that that 2 blows landed almost simultaneously, and the half ogre that this minotaur was fighting against did eventually fall down and was unconscious, but the minotaur collapsed first, and so was declared the loser. And so everybody thinks that so if you lose, you have to play at the lower level again to earn your way back.
Oh,
So he's about to play this week. He's about to do a level 2 match this week, and everybody's like, that's going to be easy. But the real curiosity is 2 weeks from now, he'll almost certainly be playing a level 3 match again, and that's where it'll be. That'll be fun. That's what people are excited about.
Okay.
What's interesting about this particular Minotaur also is that he fights with a weapon that nobody's ever seen before. It is a 3-part staff with chains connecting the 3 parts. So I don't know what that weapon is called, but basically three poles of wood connected at 2 parts by chains. Like
cool.
Not nunchucks, but whatever that
whatever
is.
Yeah, some kind of fancy nunchucks.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called, but that is a weapon they've not seen before, but he wields it in a very interesting way. Outside of the game, he is a monk. In class, that's not what he's a monk. He's not known as a monk, but that's the class that NPC is.
In these groups of people who are engaging in these betting circles, is there like bookies or anyone that's clearly like kind of administrating the bets?
A coiling dragon staff.
Cool.
The 3 sectional staff, it's got a Japanese name. The 3 sectional staff is a Chinese weapon consisting of 3 wooden, foam, or metal staffs connected by metal rings, chains, or rope.
That's it. Coiling dragon staff. I love it. Yes. So everybody's kind of got their own bookie.
Okay.
These very high-end folks have someone who looks quasi-official, and a little investigation informs you that this person actually works for the mayor's office. The other guys, the more working class guys, they just have a guy.
A dude.
Yeah. And
who has a notepad or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's basically he's basically a local merchant who's got a little more money than everybody else, and so he kind of takes the role of the house.
Yeah.
And handles it. People seem to trust him. And then, like you said, the lower class, like open betting, you're told there's a bunch of bookies who just hang out outside the stadium, outside the arena, and you'll be able to grab somebody and throw some bets down. A little less trustworthy, but if you can track them down afterwards and get your money, and some of them seem to operate with consistency.
It would be. Is there a chance that I can find one of those working class guys?
Yeah, I mean
bookie?
they're all just hanging out at the bar in a big clump. So you've already started chatting them up. If you want to place a bet, he's happy to take your money.
I will place a 50 gold coin bet on Freya for the win.
All right. So if you're gonna bet on Freya, with 3-to-1 odds, the most
that makes it annoying.
Yeah. So if you win, you'd be what is it? By
well, let's just say
18?
60
or
60 gold. So then I'll
so
get
you'd
20.
win 20 gold.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yep.
Cool. He'll offer you an opportunity for a prop bet on this. So basically, he says, "Yeah, a small one. I'll take your money. But if you want, you could turn that 60 into 60 by combining your bet on the Silver Dragonborn with a bet that one of the lifers will advance this time. There's 5 of them in the mix. If even one makes it to the next level, you could double your money instead."
I'll take that bet.
All right. In response, you're given a chit and a little record of your bet. You're given a quick little sheet that has information about the 5 lifers, the people that are considered lifers, who are going to be 4 of those lifers are competing at level 2, and 1 of them is competing at level 1. And so if any of the 5 of those advance, are successful, and Freya wins, you will double your money. If Freya loses, or if all 5 of them lose, you'll lose your money. Anyone else want to make a wager?
Air wants to bet on herself.
Okay.
Winning, obviously.
Oh.
It'd be unethical to go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
We'll also put a tenner on
A tenner. There we go. On the small warlock, half elf warlock.
All right, so Podham's got
Hexblade, yeah.
Podham's got 60 gold pieces on Freya must win and one of the lifers must win, and 10 gold pieces on Air to win.
I have this vision of Podham, like one of those like ridiculous green tinted
Visors.
Visor. And he's got an abacus.
Yeah, abacus.
Air's an unknown quantity, so you're getting even odds on Air. You're betting on yourself?
Yes.
How much?
It's a good question. 40 gold.
Okay. Freya, you placing any bets?
No.
Okay.
I will not be betting.
Not gonna Pete Rose this thing.
Oh, heck no.
Air, the box doesn't like this. Just so
The box doesn't. Oh, the box doesn't like. Yeah.
it doesn't like it.
Yeah. Well, you gotta risk money to make money.
Okay. I mean, I'm not judging.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you how the box feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I'll hear about it. It goes south.
Probably will. All right, very good. This feels to me, unless anybody has anything else administrative that you want to do before bedtime, this feels to me like maybe a good place to pause it,
Sure.
and then we'll be able to pick it up on Arena Day.
Mm-hmm.
Pando will be back. There'll be things to do. Feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
All right.
let's wrap it there. Let me pause this guy.